Are there any additions to the agenda, Madam Clerk?
No additions to the agenda, Chairman.
And this is the closed session portion. County Council, will you please read into the record any items for closed session?
Yes, Chairman and members of the board. There are 5 items on your closed session today. However, your labor negotiator, Michelle May, has no items to discuss with you, so I will only read the remaining items for closed session. The first is under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D2, existing litigation. The name of the case and the case number on the agenda, BNSF Railway Company versus Alameda County et al. Government Code Section 54957, there's public employee appointment employment for 2 positions in the county. One is a county administrative officer, and the other is interim county administrative officer. Under labor negotiations for unit unrepresented employees, not all units, there are 2 positions, deputy county administrative officers and director of human resources, and your agency designated representative is Michelle May. And the last item is also under Government Code Section 54957. The board will discuss the appointment and employment of the Director of Human Resources. Thank you.
And those interviews will be, for that closed session, will be at 1 o'clock?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any public comment regarding the closed session items? Seeing none, I'll call close to the public comment portion, and we will go back to closed session.
Merry Christmas.
What an entrance. What an entrance. All right. Welcome back to a regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. We're just coming back from closed session. Is there any reportable actions out of closed session?
Chairman, members of the board, there are no reportable actions from closed session. However, there are additional items for the board to consider, so the request would be to have a closed session later on in today's agenda.
Thank you. And we'll open and close the meeting in memory of, anybody have anybody? I do. So this past week, a very wonderful Maderan, Steve Upton, passed away. He's survived by his wife, Chris, his daughter, Stephanie, and Tara, and then grandkids, Hannah, Garrett, Keegan, and Reed. He was actually the first dad I ever had to meet as a boyfriend, and it was a great way to start off as a young man in high school meeting Steve, because he was fair. He didn't pull out a shotgun or anything and clean it in front of me, which was nice. But he was just a wonderful human being, was always happy. Didn't matter when you'd see him, you'd pick up right where you left off with him, and he just cared about his family, his friends, and Madera, and he'll be missed. And so just wanted to open and close this meeting in his memory, and my thoughts and prayers are with his wife and children and grandchildren at this time. So we'll have, Sheriff, would you lead us in the flag salute? And we have our invocation by Pastor Lance Leach.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow our heads and please move.
Father God, we just thank you that we lived in a blessed community. We're so blessed here, not only in the United States of America and California, but in this county of Madera. God, we pray for all of the first responders and those who work so hard on our behalf throughout the foothills, the mountains, and the valley, the beautiful valley that we live in. We pray your provision for them to do the work that they do, and that you would take care of them and protect them and their families. God, we pray for our incredible educators that as they're getting ready to take a much-needed break, that they would finish strong this week, and so would all the kids. And God, we thank you for our children. They are truly the blessing and the real gifts of this community to the future. God, we pray for each of these Board of Supervisors and each of their staff, as well as the supporting staff that's here today, that God, you would give them the wisdom, the understanding, the knowledge to continue to move forward, move us forward in this community. We thank you for all that we've done and accomplished, but God, we want to continue to grow. In this season, our minds go to those who have less and are in need. But our minds are also well aware that your word tells us that it's better to have a little and have peace than have much and have restlessness and have strife. So God, we pray for the many agencies in our community that help out, the shelters, the mission, the food banks, the different places that provide. But we also ask that, God, we would not forget that in this season it is awesome and wonderful to serve others and to minister to others, but it's really awesome all year long. And so God, we pray that as we enjoy our families, those that you have surrounded us with, God, we pray for peace there too. So many of there's those that have heartache because they have children who are with them, but maybe they're lost. And God, we pray that the families as they gather in this season would not only remember to honor your son who was born in this season, and we remember that, but also, God, the very reason he was born, to bring peace on earth and goodwill to all men. So we ask for all of this. It's a lot. We ask because we know that you can give it. In your name we pray. Amen.
Item 4, public comment.
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record.
Good morning. Greetings. Happy holidays.
Yep.
My name is Santos Garcia. I am a staff member of the Central Labor Council, and I'm here today in solidarity with UDW workers who take care of us, our friends and family. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Mike Fersman, a good friend of mine.
Thank you. And thank you for your service on the city council, Santos.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Again, my name is Mike Fersman, Madera County. I'm here on support of the IHSS workers. I myself am not an IHS paid worker, but I do live and breathe this every day. My sister is disabled in a wheelchair. I have my mother-in-law who has Alzheimer's and my father-in-law. And I do live and breathe this as far as with what the tasks are that takes as far as being a provider, as a care provider for in-home. Just real quick, just indulge me real quick here, but just think about something. Think about where you're at. Think about your current situation. Think about your pay scales. Think about your insurance programs. Imagine you just lost all that and now you have a new job. And you're going to be an IHSS provider. You're making minimum wage, and if you're lucky, you're going to get $1,900 a month working as a provider. After taxes, your home, your rent, your utilities, your car that you need to get to and from work, you're down to almost nothing. What are the job duties of a care provider? Caring for a disabled child or disabled adult. Some of the job duties are ours. You have to prepare meals. This is all in home. This is not out of home. This is in home. You're there providing for them. You got to prepare meals. You got to clean up. You got to go ahead and take care of any problems that they have when it comes to their bowel issues, their restroom facilities, and everything else. You got to feed them daily. You got routine bed, bath, cleaning. You've got to go ahead and you have to transfer them from the bed to the chair. Some can walk a little bit, some can't, but you have to physically go ahead and move those folks around. You got to give them all their oral hygiene. You got to take them to the doctor visits. A lot of them got to use their own vehicles, and they've got to take them to doctor visits and help them get in and get out. You've got a whole bunch of other things that have to take that need to be done for these individuals. If you listen to some of those tasks that are performed by the in-home care provider, they should be very familiar to you. How many of you got kids? Raise your kids. Knew how much time it took to take care of a child to grow up to an adult. Clean them, bathe them, feed them, take care of their doctor visits, take care of every necessity it takes for those kids. These are not easy jobs. They're not an easy task. These folks don't have the ability to go ahead and just walk in and say, hey, give me more money because of what the jobs are. They don't make the kind of money that some folks out there are making because these hours are only distributed across from the state of California, and they designate how many hours are available for them to use. I am their resident. I pay my fair share in taxes. I pay for the people and the supervisors to run our counties. It's time that these care providers and all care providers are paid their fair share. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Leticia Gonzalez. I'm at 1286 Soret Street, Madera. For disclosure purposes, I'm here on my own personal time. I'm here today as a friend, a partner, and an advocate to our most visible, invisible workforce, and that is our in-home care providers. Each of us somehow are connected to someone who receives or cares for our increasingly aging and disabled population. The valuable service that these providers perform is essential and necessary, and yet they struggle to pay the rent and put food on their table. Home care providers, along with the people they serve, will continue to suffer financially, mentally, and physically under the current system. Some of you may not know this, but my mother was a provider before she passed. She cared for my grandmother and other clients eventually, who became like family once my mom started caring for them. When my mom cared for my grandma had Parkinson's and early signs of dementia. And when my mom cared for her, she provided 24-hour care, but was only compensated for a few hours a month. This was not a career she chose, but rather had no choice but to drop everything she was doing to care for my grandma, because that's what families do when they can. The toll this work took on her and our family, mentally, physically, and financially, was quite apparent. Long, stressful nights, substantial strain on her body, and financial insecurity plagued our household. As my grandma's health declined, so did her ability and capacity to perform some of the most basic functions. My mother performed these duties with the utmost dignity and compassion, despite the aforementioned issues. I've been a staff person at the board office for over 12 years now. Over the years, I have observed this board and previous administrations make some very tough and difficult decisions. I have also observed your board as your board sets policies and steers this county in new directions. Bold solutions begin with you. I ask that you adopt a fair and living wage contract, implement the necessary training for our providers, and provide the tools and resources necessary for them to perform the job with the dignity and compassion that their clients deserve. Thank you, and God bless you.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Anthony Loza, Assistant Treasurer Tax Collector. Just wanted to give your board a brief update on our most recent December 10th collections. Happy to report that we had another successful tax collection period. We collected 93% of our property tax payments for our first installment, so wanted to take a moment to thank our staff and our tax team for doing an amazing job this tax collection period, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I want to thank all the people at the Treasurer's Tax Collector's Office. I can't get my mic to work here. Thank you, sir. Electronically challenged here. I want to thank all the people at the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office. When I walk in and pay my taxes, they're always smiling and responsive, and it makes me feel good to step up to people who have good customer service ethic, and I appreciate it so much. I wanted to voice that.
Thank you. We appreciate that. You guys have a great day.
You too.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Dylan Savory. I'm the executive director of our Central Labor Council in this community. We represent 53 labor unions and about 100,000 workers in Fresno, Madera, and Tulare and Kings counties. I'm here as a strong supporter of the IHSS program, but I want to give you guys a little bit of a different angle on this. I know that none of the supervisors or any elected officials wake up every day and intend to do harm or intend to keep people in poverty. Generally, you run for office to make things better by your own judgment, by the things that are in front of you. And sometimes the supervisors, the things that are in front of you are what's presented by staff or presented by the attorneys that negotiate against our bargaining unit. Up and down the Central Valley, there are attorneys and staff members that do not have to answer to the public, and they do not see the harm that is done when we keep people on public assistance programs and on minimum wage, really by no fault of their own. Some of our IHSS workers have PhDs, master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, and they either had a child that was born with autism or a family member, a wife, maybe had a stroke. Something extraordinary happened to them, and they are taking the time away to do God's work. And I've heard the argument in every single county that, well, you shouldn't get paid to take care of your family. The reality is there are more older and more disabled people in our society than ever before. The elderly population are living longer and they're growing. And Ultimately, this is saving the county money. The county only covers 17 cents on the dollar for every time they get a dollar increase. And that means there is 83 cents that comes into the community that you all do not have to pay for, and that is a trickle-up economy. That money comes into the community, they spend it on fixing their car or on helping with additional supplies around the house, and not all of them are even full-time. So I want to implore you to dig a little deeper into this issue. Fresno County has 17,000 IHSS workers and growing, an additional 17,000 plus that they take care of, 35,000 people in that community, and their Board of Supervisors just agreed to a 60-cent contract raise with additional things going towards supplies and additional folks getting access to the healthcare plan. So there are some 1,300 to 1,400 here, maybe 3,000 such affected Madera County residents. And as much as I am happy that the man of faith came up and prayed for everybody, we didn't pray for the IHSS workers or the folks, the most vulnerable that they're really taking care of. It is so difficult to do everything that my friend Mike Fersman talked about, taking care of a family member. And it's something that none of us want to have to do if we cannot. We want our family and friends to be healthy and happy, but if it happens to you, I would expect all of you to take care of your mothers or your kids if something like that happened to them. And we would want you to not be on public assistance. We'd want you to make enough money to not be in the poorhouse and to be able to provide groceries and Christmas presents for your family. So please pray for these folks, look at it from their lens, and find those extra pennies. Because this is a growing thing happening in our community with more elderly. And we are actually saving the system money and saving lives by giving them just that little bit extra that they need, especially around Christmas time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan.
Hi, Ron Montoya, Madera, California. Proud resident since 2000, I believe, 7. Last week was a sad moment for Madera County. And it's puzzling, it's sad. It was our own Me Too movement. It was our own Rosa Parks movement. And I hope everybody in this room really processes what went on last week. I have 2 new superheroes in my life, Michelle Garcia and Rebecca Martinez. It was because of their courage that certain people are not at this podium anymore. It was because of their courage and their voice and their action and their right to free speech that this person is no longer here. And I came over here 2 months ago when Eric Fleming just slashed and burned the animal shelter, and that what broke the camel's back for me. And I went over there to the Board of Supervisors meeting in the Ranchos, and I asked him, why did a lady from Madera tell me, prepare for war? And he had no idea why. That's what he told me. A month and a half later, he is no longer here. And it took courage from Rebecca and Michelle Garcia. Those are my new superheroes. I want to quote you, Mr. Rodriguez, what you said back in 2013 when the grand jury had some questions on the shenanigans that continue to go on. You said, Fleming, he doesn't exceed his authority. Where that came from, I don't know. What did people know? When we see something, say something. Or is it only at our convenience? It's not easy coming up here. It's not. And I'm proud. I was so proud when I left. I sat there with my cat Jagger. There was not one dry eye in this building because of Rebecca's comments. It was sad. It was disheartening. And you guys enabled him. You guys camouflaged him. And I think you guys should come around here during public comment and maybe even apologize, because apologies go a long ways. Maybe even ask the Madera County employees to do a self-evaluation anonymously and really, really dig in deep on what's going on with this county, because last week it was embarrassing. And I think you guys really need to consider what you guys did to Kirsten at the animal shelter, because that was sad. What you guys did, and that kill rate is 15% because of her. And now because of you guys, Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Frazier, I know what happened back then. And it stinks. It's disheartening. They do a lot I've already paid four cats in 2 days because of their vouchers. And you guys, when you see something, say something. Thank you.
Sí, buenos días. Mi nombre es Joaquín López. Tengo 9 años de ser proveedor de UDW. Cuido a mamá, tiene Alzheimer's.
My name is Joaquin Lopez. I have a IHSS home care provider. I have been caring for my mom for 9 years, and she has Alzheimer's.
En estos 9 años he tenido un trabajo muy duro. Ella se me ha perdido. Ahorita usa ella 3 Pampers al día y es una cosa muy difícil. Ahorita estamos aquí para un mejor salario, necesitamos guantes, mascarillas, desinfectador de las manos.
So the work that I do is very difficult caring for my mom. My mom uses approximately at least 3 adult diapers changes a day, and the work requires us to be able to wear masks, gloves, and use hand sanitizer.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Wilson, and I'm the Madera County Representative for the United Domestic Workers Union, which is our union rep for the home care providers. I went ahead and became a home care provider to my grandparents and to my father. And I'm telling you, it's not easy work. My grandparents, they both had cancer. Okay, and I don't know if you know how to take care of a cancer patient, but sometimes with hand sanitizers, gloves, and everything, and masks to protect them from getting a cold from you helps a lot. Okay, it helped me to keep from giving them a cold if I caught a cold. Gloves helped to protect me when my grandmother was going through chemotherapy because I wouldn't suffer chemical burns from the chemotherapy treatments she was receiving or the radiation. Those are the kinds of things that happens when you're a care provider. I also have been a care provider in Madera County since 2009. When I first came here, I was not aware that I was taking care of an HIV positive client, because they're not required to tell you about it. I didn't have any hand sanitizer, gloves to work with this patient or client. And we did not go ahead and use bleach because we didn't have the knowledge that they were HIV positive until much later. I worked for this client for almost 5 years, and not knowing that he was HIV positive, I even exposed my grandson, my 12-year-old grandson, to HIV. And so we're both going through regular testing because we don't know if we are going to ever test positive for HIV. That's the responsibility that I've had to carry. Also too, if we have a livable wage, then when our car breaks down, then we can possibly fix it and still continue on doing the work we do. The other thing that happens is I keep telling everybody I'm one flat tire away from being homeless. This program has made me homeless twice. Once because of a timesheet error, and I got locked out of the system, and they couldn't purge me in and they couldn't purge me out. That was how the timesheet, electronic timesheet thing came into play, because I testified in front of the Senate Appropriations Committee down in downtown LA to let them know the system was broken and needed to be fixed. And so they went ahead, and that's how the electronic timesheet system was evolved, which will eventually go into helping the state of California to comply with the electronic visit verification, which everybody was scrambling to try to figure out how we were going to comply with the federal government's rulings to be chiming in, timing in, sending in our time when we get there, and clocking out when we leave. That's going to go into effect in January. So those are the kind of things that we've been faced with. Multiple times we've been accused of being falsely, stating our time, whether we're telling the truth or we're not. That's to me is just wrong, because until somebody's actually doing something wrong, we shouldn't be put under the knife, and falsely accused. That's just not fair. This is America, So those are the kinds of things that home care providers are always under the gun about. On top of us changing diapers with no gloves, taking care of clients who might catch a cold and might give it to us so where we could take it to our other clients.
The
And-
3 minutes have been up about, if you want to finish up, I'd love to hear the rest
I'm
of yours.
finishing right
Okay,
now.
perfect.
Okay, so those are the kinds of things that we do as home care providers. And these are the people that I am representing here in Madera County as their county rep. And we all stand in solidarity. Thank you for your time, and thank you for extending me the time. And hope you consider giving us a contract and a livable wage.
My name is Angelica. I'm not speak good English, but I'm gonna try. I've been provider for 8 years for my son. Before, I was not provider him because I was not legal. So when I turned legal in this country, I start to be his provider. Before, me and my son and my daughter, we was living in houses, renting one room, another room, and they always asking to leave because my son, he has a disabled mentally and physical, and he has behaviors too. When I start to be provider for him, the life turned a little bit better for me because I can rent a house for us, and then nobody can ask him to leave. I get some hours for him, but it's not enough because I didn't got enough money to pay my bills. And then I cannot looking for other job because I had to be there for him 24/7. I just want to ask you to be in our place a little bit, and then you see there's not justice. I just asking you for a justice contract for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Abraham Girón. Yo soy proveedor desde hace 11 años y a lo mejor ustedes me van a entender porque son esposos y son papás.
My name is Abraham Hiron. I have been a home care provider for 11 years, and maybe you will all understand where I'm coming from because you are also husbands.
Cuando yo me hice proveedor es porque mi esposa sufrió 2 derrames cerebrales cuando estaba embarazada.
The reason I became a home care provider is because my wife suffered 2 brain hemorrhages while she was pregnant.
Entonces tuve que dejar mi trabajo de soldador para poder cuidarle a ella y a mi hija.
So then I had to quit my job as a welder to take care of her and my daughter.
Desde hace 11 años me han pagado 4 horas para poder sobrellevar mi casa.
For over 11 years, I have been paid 4 hours, so that 4 hours, and that is the way I sustain my house.
Yo les pido, así como muchas veces llegaron cartelones a mi casa para que nosotros les ayudáramos, que votáramos por ustedes, así también, por favor, quiero que nos den un mejor salario.
Just like I received through the mail the postcards and the mailers regarding you looking for my support, my vote for your elected seat, that I am here asking you also to vote for us.
Le pregunté a la trabajadora social que cómo podría yo recibir más horas y mejor salario para mí. Me dijo que de la única manera que yo podía recibir mejor salario es que yo me divorciara de mi esposa para que yo pudiera recibir cosas que no me correspondían.
I asked the social worker as to what can I do in order for me to get more hours and get a better income. And the worker told me that I needed to divorce my wife so that I could get an increase of hours and get the benefits and be able to support and provide for the needs, for her needs.
Entonces, yo creo que no es justo que para que yo deje de ser padre de mis hijos y esposa, de mi esposa, no tenga que hacer esto. Quiero que por favor nos ayude y piensen en nosotros. Muchas gracias.
I don't feel that it is necessary for me to take such a drastic step. I think that you can make a decision that will help us, not only me as a home care provider, but all home care providers in this income. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good morning, supervisors. My name is Elsa Laura Lugo. I live in District 3, Robert Poitras district. I am also a UDW's lead organizer. We've met many times. There are many providers and their clients and community members who wanted to be here, but I have here wrapped in a gift box the holiday wishes for you, the supervisors, from the providers and the clients in the community who could not be here to be present here. But in this box speaks their voices, as those of us who are here present represent the voices of the home care providers who are fighting and are asking and should not have to beg but deserve a livable wage. The last offer of 25 cents, my husband and I went to breakfast the other day and we were waiting to be seated and I turned, there was a gumball machine. And I was thinking about, I remember when I was a kid, I could put a penny, 2 pennies, a dime, a nickel, and get a gumball. And on the gumball machine, it said 50 cents. And it hit me. I'm like, 25 cents is like, it's an insult to the tremendous amount of work that these providers do. First responders get training. First responders have gloves and masks so that they can attend to an emergency. Our home care providers are first responders in caring for somebody in their home when there's an emergency. They walk out with whatever it is they have done with. They live and thrive in this community. They care about this community. And again, they care for those who don't have anybody to care for. So 25 cents and asking us to take 5 cents of those 25 to cut it in half and pay for our supplies is inappropriate and unacceptable. First, home care providers deserve training because you get trained and your staff gets trained and anybody who starts a job and goes to work gets trained. And if, dental and vision insurance, granting them dental and vision is not a lot to ask for. Madera County is a great county. As a resident of Madera County, I love it here. Opportunities to move elsewhere. My husband and I are planning on buying a house, and I'm like, I don't want to go anyplace else. I want to stay in Madera County, and actually, I want to stay in your county, in your district. So, but we are voters. Santa is watching, and so are we. Thank you.
We can keep it here. I don't think there's anything that.
It's got letters in it?
Letters and wishes, yeah. Oh, no, it's good.
Good morning. My name is Della Perales. I'm a home care provider in Stanislaus County. I'm here in support of home care providers getting a livable wage. I don't know what's in your heart, what your heart would talk to you. I can only tell you what my heart talked to us when my grandson got injured at the age of 17, falling off a bicycle, not a motorbike, a bike. At the age of 17,
Would you
had
pull
a
that down?
I'm sorry.
I can hardly hear you. Thank you.
He had a traumatic brain injury,
Oh, okay.
which rendered him in a wheelchair and nonverbal. He was in the hospital for 6 months, and the doctor said, you have to make a decision. You have to take him home or you have to have him placed in a facility. We were scared to death. But it was a no-brainer for my daughter and her husband and myself. We all said, we're taking our boy home. He's going to now be placed in a facility where they would water him like a potted plant in a quarter periodically. When he came home, he was a mere 93 pounds and didn't have much life in him. Today, he's still nonverbal, but when you look in his eyes, you can see the spirit is alive and well. And that's all due to the love and care that he gets at home. Accidents happen every day. Heart attacks, strokes. It can happen to any one of us walking out and hitting our head. So we need to be sympathetic to the home care providers and give them a livable wage. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment at this time? Seeing none, I'll call close to the public comment portion. You're a shift in the chair. I thought you were coming up, Deb. And we'll move on to consent calendar. And so, and we'll just pause. Are we, okay, just let everyone filter out.
You should let Zach open it. Take it back in. Never know.
Consent calendar, is there any items any supervisor would like to pull for further discussion? Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, it's on. Item I, the $100,000 for that Converge One Incorporated, is that also to help us, like, protect us from what happened to MCTC?
Good morning, Tanya Say, Chief Information Officer. So this is, yes, in response to your question, yes, it can help us respond to a ransomware attack. This contract really prepares us to develop an incident response plan to prepare the county in case we are hit with an attack of that nature.
Again, we got hit that same weekend, right? MCCD did?
We had a cyber threat on our network. They did not penetrate our network.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, I understand then.
Yes, that did not penetrate our network.
Right. Okay. Then item K. In the agreement, it says that we came to agreement with Caltrans on March 18th this year, 2019, and I wonder how come it's taken this long to come to us now to say that we agree with that agreement?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Jared Carter, Public Works. I think what that's referencing is the agreement that we came to was for the county to take the CEQA lead on the project.
Right.
Initially, Caltrans had told us that they had to be CEQA
But we had it
lead.
at first, and they took it, and now in March, they gave it back to us?
Correct. Yeah, so that was when the decision was made, and we were given authority by the director to take back over as a CEQA lead. So this agreement is basically to just solidify that decision that was made by Caltrans already.
Okay, but why has it taken 9 months?
I'm not sure I can answer that. We try to work with
I can. I mean,
Caltrans
it's
for them
crazy.
to.
I keep asking, when's that going to get started? Is that our fault? Is it just Caltrans' fault? Why is it 9 months? I just don't understand that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know that I can answer that. It's something that was happening on Caltrans' side, and we were sort of directed to follow their process until we got to a point where it wasn't working very well for us to move the project forward, and at which point we spoke to the director and got permission to take control and take back over on the CEQA lead, which we've done and now are through that process.
We've done it now since March. It says March you guys signed an agreement to it. We took it over.
I think, I'm not sure if that's exactly the
That's
correct.
just what it says in the backup.
Yeah, I apologize if that's misunderstanding. It's
Yeah.
really the decision from Caltrans to give us control back over CEQA was done in March.
Okay.
And they prepared this agreement and sent it to us to get to your board, so we just got this.
Have we pushed them to get it sooner than this?
This agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as soon as we got permission from them, we asked for the agreement to make the revision. They went through a process and actually redid a whole new agreement as opposed to an amendment to the
9
original
months, it
agreement.
just don't make sense. Okay, well, I'll talk to you guys about it later. So, and on L, it's probably
Yeah.
Public Works too, the Bass Lake one, how close are we to getting that 100% of the 83 homes signed on for that point of use?
Yeah, so we did get all 83. We
You
have
did.
gotten all 83 at this point.
Okay.
What we're asking for this is just to have it in place, because if for some reason over the 3-year period, something changes with ownership or we need to deal with that in some way, we need to have this provision in place to be able to deal with that.
Okay, and I'm just happy you got all 83. 'Cause last
Yeah,
time
we
I heard
did
have
get all 83 of current
Yeah.
residents, yes.
That's the main thing. Thank you.
Okay.
The next one's Stephanie, is she here? Oh, there you are, back there on P and Q. I had all those dollars up again, and it's still $632 off.
Stephanie Agneson, Director of Water and Natural Resources. I can double check the math.
Yeah, just check it and see how come we're that much off. I did it from both P and Q, just to see if I missed those somewheres, but it still comes out wrong.
Okay, and
Just
I
need to
rounded
I'd
everything
like
up
to have
in
it.
terms of the transfer of
I just want to correct it
appropriations.
before we approve it, because it's different.
Okay, well, I'm gonna need to go back and use a calculator though to do that.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
That's it, Chair. Oh,
Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah,
Stephanie?
the use of the, the use of the vehicle would be for towing and for the green machine, am I right?
That's correct. We had to purchase a truck that could tow something as heavy as the Green Climber.
Right. And rip-wrap and trailer, that's all part of that as well.
That's right. And just to clarify from County Council, I rounded up in terms of the transfer of appropriations. So if it didn't add to 43,000, that's because we just rounded to the nearest thousand. I'm going to go check my math
Okay,
again,
well,
but
I know we're rounding it up, say we are, but still.
I'll go check.
Take the 632 or whatever it was out.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to have that on there,
But to
I
be
can round them up too, but it still don't come out that way.
To be clear, we're transferring money within the flood control budget
Right.
from professional services to fixed assets, which is how we can buy equipment.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I
I'll go
understand
double
that.
check.
I understand all that. I just, when you had those numbers up, I mean, maybe you did round them up, but if you do take the 632 out, then off that one line,
Okay,
that'd be easier.
okay.
Okay.
Just for the information to the public, the green machine that we're talking about helps eliminate the arundo in the sloughs and creates an opportunity for free-flowing perennial flow water, which creates better groundwater recharge. Also enhances flood control because with the arundo in the sloughs, it makes choke points where debris collects, becomes dams, and then you get breakouts in the sloughs. And the green machine is very effective it's a remote controlled machine that you send through there with an operator, and it eradicates the vegetation inside the slough banks and creates a better circumstance for the county. So.
And all the money's coming from a grant.
That's right. This is $483,000 from the Department of Water Resources with no match.
Right.
And we've, up to this point, we've had several good years of grant money from the DWR. Back in 2011, we utilized that grant to eradicate miles and miles of Arundo in the sloughs, and we want to continue that process, and this is part of it. So.
Supervisor Rodriguez.
Stephanie, that machine that you used previously, I think you used it about 6 months ago. Did it work all right? Were you satisfied with performance?
Yes, Dario Dominguez, our flood control engineer, did use the machine, and it's able to mow and do vegetation control on steeper slopes than you can use a regular lawnmower or riding lawnmower.
Were the homeless people satisfied?
We were worked in cooperation with the sheriff's office and with the fire to make sure that the areas were cleared of homeless folks and others before we used the machine for vegetation control.
Very good. Thank you. I actually had the opportunity to operate the machine myself, and it functions very high. It's you couldn't do what it does with a tractor. It would take you hours and hours to do what that does. So it's just really an exceptional machine.
It's good that the operator isn't on the machine, because that would be dangerous.
Yeah.
I did
I
the same
agree.
with my pushing mower. I did it pretty well with just All right. Any other questions regarding the consent calendar? Any public comment regarding the consent calendar? See none, I'll call close to
Move to
public comment.
approve.
We've got a motion from Supervisor Rodriguez. Second.
Chairman, pardon me, and members of the board, is P and Q intended to be part of that motion, or are they being pulled to come back for answers and voted upon at a separate time?
What we just put in there, that we'll correct the number and make it add up right.
Is that okay to the motion?
Okay,
I'll second
Okay,
that.
motion.
All right, call for the vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
All right. So let's move to, let's see. So we've got a break in reception.
It's
Let's,
11.
yeah, it's not quite 11, so we can't do the public hearings yet. So we'll start with 7A.
7A, Board of Supervisors Department, District Number 1, presentation of proclamations to the Madera Cemetery District for their 75th anniversary and for their American Cemetery of Excellence Award finalists.
Do we want to read the, oh, yeah.
Madera Cemetery District 75th Anniversary Celebration. Whereas Madera Cemetery District is an independent special district for Madera County under the leadership of Board of Trustees appointed by the Board of Supervisors, formed by a special election on November 7, 1944. And whereas Madera Cemetery District serves throughout the County of Madera with 2 locations in the City of Madera and 3 in the County of Madera. 2 cemeteries were included in the original formation of the Madera Cemetery District. One formed in 1885 by the Ladies Social Aid Society of Madera Fresno County, known as the Arborvitae Cemetery. The second, formed in 1889, was given to the district in 1946 by the Roman Catholic Monterey Fresno Diocese and is now known as the Calvary Cemetery. Other cemeteries include Raymond Cemetery, started by the Woodsmen of the World in 1905 and conveyed to Madera Cemetery District on December 1953. Oak Hill Cemetery, established in 1875 in Oakhurst, California, brought into the district in 1955, and North Fork Willow Creek Cemetery, established in 1905 and brought into the district in 1957. And whereas the Madera Cemetery District is one of the largest public cemeteries in the state of California and prides itself on continue its mission of preserving the beauty, dignity, historical, and cultural values for the County of Madera. And whereas Madera Cemetery District is celebrating its 75th anniversary. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby proclaim November 2019 as the 75th anniversary of the Madera Cemetery District and wishes the district many more years of service to the county. Want to do that one first?
Yeah. Oh, the picture will be of both, right? Yeah, do that one as well.
Okay. December 17, 2019, Madera Cemetery District American Cemetery of Excellence Award finalist 2019. Whereas Madera Cemetery District is an independent special district for Madera County under the leadership of the Board of Trustees appointed by the Board of Supervisors and formed by the vote of the local residents and property owners in Madera County with a special election on November 7, 1944. And whereas Madera Cemetery District serves throughout the County of Madera with 2 locations in the City of Madera and 3 in the County of Madera, and whereas Madera Cemetery has been selected as one of the 3 finalists for the American Cemetery of Excellence Award in the United States. As a finalist, Madera Cemetery District stands out not only for their performance, professionalism, and innovation, but also their ability to look to the past to envision the future. And whereas we recognize both the Board of Trustees and employees, past and present, for their desire and goal to provide a beautifully landscaped living memorial, quality care, and exemplary service in perpetuity where families come to honor and celebrate life. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby recognize the Madera Cemetery District on this distinguished award and commitment to Madera County.
Thank you for reading that so that I didn't have to. I really appreciate it. But, you know, all of us here have been to our cemeteries at some point or other for either for something sad or the celebration of life. And what the cemetery district does to show that beauty for your loved one's life and the same kind of respect that you would want to be paid to them at that day and ongoing is apparent every time you go there. We've actually had 2 events there that weren't funerals just this year as a way to celebrate and look back at the past and have history lessons of some of the great people that came through are still buried there, and just it has that connection to our past, and we just appreciate having a place to bury and visit our loved ones forever, and we really appreciate all the work that you all put in to make sure that same respect is paid to our loved ones. And so I'd like to have our district and the board come up, and we'll take some pictures with these 2 proclamations with you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make mention that the manager of the cemetery district, Delva Bear, also has the distinguished honor of being a member of the Madera High Class of '74. So just thought you should know that. There you go.
Well, I got to say something too, because Lois there. How long you been on the cemetery board now? 34 years. Her and I graduated in 1961, and her husband graduated. Yeah, I want everybody to know, man, we're young chicks yet.
You got us beat.
Yeah, and her husband Doug there was 2 years ahead of us, so he's really an old part. I'll tell you that. But we've been friends all these years, so.
Wow, I was 2 years old.
Well, I spent a lot of time in Candy Talley's office when she was the vice principal at John Adams. As a little redhead, I was always causing some trouble or another, so thank you all. So most of these public hearings are going to take some time. 6F should be pretty quick. We'll get that one out of the way, and then we'll move into the 7B and 7C. So 6F, is everyone?
6F, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division, hearing to consider adoption of a resolution approving the appeal to the Planning Commission's decision to approve Riverwalk Boulevard name change.
Deputy Director here with me as well. We have a brief PowerPoint presentation on this appeal, and will be available for any questions the board may have at that time.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jamie Bax with the Planning Division. Before you is an appeal of a Planning Commission's decision of a road name change. So per section 11.04.120 with Madera County Code, road names may be changed at the discretion of the Planning Commission. We had an item before the Planning Commission with a proposal to change the name of Business Route 41 to Riverwalk Boulevard within the Riverstone specific plan boundaries. However, the Planning Commission did approve it. However, it was only from Avenue 12 to Root Creek Parkway. At this time, the applicant is appealing that decision to allow for a name to be changed to all Business Route 41 right-of-way within the specific plan boundaries, in addition to the area north of Avenue 12. And I'll show you on a map here, as it is in the circulation plan of the specific plan. So as you can see, the area north of Avenue 12, most eastern side of the specific plan, that right-of-way is actually proposed to loop back into 41 on the north side as well. So the applicant is proposing to change that area or add that area name at this time. The area north is about 2,800 feet. The area south is about 3/4 of a mile. So it is shown in the circulation plan of the specific plan. In addition, it's also shown in the trails plan of the specific plan there. So with that, staff is recommending that the board consider the appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to approve the road name change of Riverwalk Boulevard within the Riverstone specific plan, and we're available for any questions.
Yeah, just, who appealed it?
The applicant is
Oh.
appealing the decision of the Planning Commission. So originally, they had applied for the boundaries within the specific plan as you're seeing before you. However, the Planning Commission only approved the area from Avenue 12 south to Root Creek
Okay.
Parkway where the last intersection is.
I got it, okay. I didn't understand that when I read that. I just write who appealed, because I didn't understand. So actually, when we redo 41 north of that road's gonna go on and go back, is it gonna be overpass, or is it just gonna blend in?
So the specific plan has what is currently known as Business Route 41 going north of Avenue 12 as, in essence, a bypass perpendicular to 41 as the current business route. So it will be another north-south roadway that would act as a perpendicular alignment to 41. It would not necessarily tie back into 41 at any location. For future development, well out, most likely in the future, right? You could be looking at connectivity to Avenue 15 and potentially all the way to a 145. So, you know, the more circulation we can get out there, we're going to need every bit of that. So,
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Supervisor Rogers?
Are there any cost ramifications to the county? Cost?
no, Supervisor, the costs for the signage and the rename, and even this action, this appeal is all borne by the developer.
I knew that. I just wanted the general public to know that.
This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public wishing to make comment at this time? See none, I'll call close to the public comment portion of the public hearing, bring it back to the board for action.
Would you like to make the motion on that?
Yes, I move to adopt the resolution approving the appeal of the Planning Commission's decision.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
All right. Thank you. Now we'll move into 7B.
7B, Board of Supervisors Department, District Number 1, presentation of the 2019 Quarterly Chairman's Culture of Excellence Award.
All right, so this is the last one of these quarterly. I think this went fairly well. It was, it was great as the chairman to get so many applications of so many different wonderful things that our employees are doing here in their pursuit of a culture of excellence. And really what we found out that they were just being excellent because that's what they do. That's who they are in this organization. And we just appreciate everyone in this organization, but it's been great to be able to really highlight and celebrate those employees that go above and beyond that we're just so proud of. So our first one, and I think I'll come down here if the board wants to join me. We'll call up the different. Oh, thank you.
Nope. No, not over you, Max.
No, is this? I always wanted to do this. I see other people do it, and you know how hard it is for a kid with ADD to not come down and push this button. So I finally got to. Yeah. So our first in this quarters is from our developmental services for our building and fire safety permit technicians. So the CED building and fire safety permit techs are our customers' first introduction to the construction requirements. Their goal is to assist property owners by navigating them through paperwork and procedures in a friendly and compassionate way, and requires high levels of quality work, minimal errors, and dedicated public service. I'll tell you, I've been in different organizations, and what I hear from people is how easy it is to come through the Madera County process. And that doesn't mean that we don't have processes in place to make sure that everything is good. What that means is the people that are there to help them get through that process, explain it, and so that people know step by step exactly what it's going to be without surprises is why we're able to consistently be told, all five of us, how great it is and how easy it is to go through the Madera County process. And that's because of Renee Smith. Is it Rhina? Okay, Renee Irwin. Julie Cutler. and Diane Luna. Get a picture. Thank you all. All right. This quarter for our General Government Award, this is on a very specific incident. On October 18th, 2019, the Office of Information Technology went above and beyond in following the mission of Madera County when they received information that the county was facing an extremely challenging cyber threat that could have been devastating. Although very stressful, the team rallied together and focused on the remediation of the problem until solved. So nothing ever happens in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day. This was on a Friday, and I was getting calls and updates from Tanya Say, and it was throughout the night. And this team stayed around and was there to make sure that everything was safe, all of our data was safe, that we weren't breached. And even before this threat had come, they knew what we were facing, what was out there, scanning the horizon, and had brought forward to this board recommendations that allowed us to be safe, and those things worked. They were, Tanya was getting them pizza at about 9 o'clock. Unfortunately, Papa Murphy's was closed, and it would have been raw anyway because you have to bake it. But it was that dedication where you could tell that this wasn't just a job. This was their system. This was their baby. They knew how important that system is to everybody in this organization, and they were there protecting it and fighting for it and making sure that by the time we all came to work on Monday, that no one would have been the wiser. So I just want to thank them all, and if they can stand up now, and we'll call your names to come down. Aaron Ortiz. Chu Zhang. Daryl Cox. Mike Kodai. Kodai. Matthew Zhang. Jay Doss. William Hyatt. And Brian Rohde. I did. I commented. You're coming over here. Let's sneak back.
I just want to thank my team publicly. I just want to really thank you for your hard work that night and your hard work each and every day, and for the knowledge that you share with the county and the expertise that you provide to the county each and every day. And I also want to publicly thank the board. Without your investment in the cybersecurity program that was started last summer, that night, October 18th, I can confidently say we probably would have been down for at least a week, number of weeks, probably 2 or 3 weeks. An average cyber attack costs about $3.5 million. Baltimore City paid $17 million to get out of that attack. That's what it ultimately cost them. So I just want to say publicly that without the support of the board and the financial investment of the county, we would have suffered a loss that day. Thank you.
And for our Health and Human Services, the Public Health Laboratory team has shown excellence not only in their compliance with laboratory certification standards, but also with overall high-quality customer service, teaching, and teamwork. I don't know if anybody's been able to go over to the new public health building, but it's beautiful. But they won this award while they were at the old public health building. You know, this was a team, and when you work with them, you know that it truly is a team at Public Health to ensure that we're all healthy, that things are taken care of, anything is responded to quickly and efficiently. And they used to do it with not a great place to work in. I did tell them when we moved to the new building that through the EIR process, we did certify that there was no cemetery underneath there, so there was not going to be any more ghosts inside of the new building. But we just appreciate all that they do and really truly showing that it doesn't matter where you're at or what location you're in. If you're at Public Health, you know that you're going to get the best customer service possible anywhere around. So with that, the Public Health Laboratory team, Jerry Peterson. Okay. Si Noon Hong. Eric Oram. And Octavio Gill. All right, and this next one is not attending, but under public safety, usually only do one, but I'm the chairman, so we're doing two. But the first one, Corporal Amy Russell. Corporal Russell carries herself in a professional manner at all times and holds herself to the highest of standards of customer service for herself and those around her. She's a longtime Madera County resident and prides herself on her community and is always looking for ways to make Bass Lake safer for all that visit it. And Sheriff, did you want to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amy couldn't be here today. For those of you who go to Bass Lake, that's Amy's responsibility. She runs the lake. I think she's done a number of things over the last 3 years that have really improved the level of service there. I think the last thing that she accomplished there, she was able to help secure a grant for any kind of fuel spills on the lake, and you think, well, gosh, how often does that happen? Well, it happens more often than you think, because boats seem to sink there a lot more often than you think. So since she had an obligation today and she wasn't able to change that, I'd ask if perhaps we could bring her back in public comment and present the award to her then.
We absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next is Manuel Chavez. Day or night, rain or shine, Detective Manuel Chavez embodies a culture of excellence through his work ethic and integrity. He has fully embraced his role as child forensic interview team member, a service few courageously accept with dignity and grace. This is one of the hardest things that that we can ask someone to do for this community, but it's one of the most important to make sure that those the most vulnerable people in our community are taken care of and found to have justice. And so, Manuel, we thank you for taking that on and like it says here, doing it with dignity and grace. So we very much appreciate you and would like to have you have the Culture of Excellence Award.
So I just wanted to say something real quick. One of the things that's interesting about this is, much as we would have liked to, we did not nominate Manuel. It was actually CAP MC who nominated him. So when you have the people that you work with cooperating or that work with cooperatively nominating you for an award, that just shows the kind of work you're doing. So.
I guess we're getting cozy here.
And this is Sheriff's up on the shelf, wants to show up here. Nope, and that concludes the fourth quarter Chairman's Culture of Excellence Awards. All right.
No doubt about it, Mr. Chairman. We do have an organization that is excellent, and it's excellent because of the people that work for the county. And we're really, really happy and proud to be part of this organization because you make it excellent. Thank you.
All right. 7C, we'll get started.
7C, Human Resources Department, presentation of service credit awards to employees who have attained 20 or more years of county service.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Michelle May with Human Resources. So it's my distinct pleasure to be here this morning to present this item, and this is the 28th annual presentation of our Service Credit Awards. So each December, the Board of Supervisors gives special recognition to our employees who have reached milestones of 20 or more years of public service with us. So in addition to today's public recognition, department heads are also going to be presenting certificates to their employees who have obtained 5, 10, and 15 years of service. This year, department heads will be recognizing here today, total overall 120 employees additionally, and we have 84 who are celebrating 5 years of service, 15 who are celebrating 10 years of service, and 21 who are celebrating 15 years of service.
And Michelle, and before we move on, just
Yes.
For everybody's understanding where we're going. So after this, we'll take a break and have a reception following, and then we'll be doing lunch. So anything regarding the GSP is going to be probably closer to 1:30 or 2, and then any of the public hearings will be around that time as well. So out of deference to people's time that is here for any of those items, we probably won't be hearing them until about 1:30, 2 o'clock. So. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this morning, Board, you'll be recognizing nearly 30 employees who are celebrating 20, 25, 30, or 35 years of service and employment with Madera County. The Department of Human Resources is proud to have played a role in honoring these employees today, and at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Susan Carter and Linda Ely with the Department of Human Resources to present the awards. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Susan Carter with HR, Human Resources, for those of you that don't know us by our acronym. We would first like to acknowledge the following employees who were unable to attend today's ceremony. From the Department of Behavioral Health Services, we have Janet Messiah, Staff Services Manager 1, for 20 years of service. From the Department of Child Support Services, Penny Peltzer, Administrative Assistant, for 20 years of service. From the Corrections Department, we have Michael Gonzalez, Assistant Corrections Director, for 25 years of service. From the Probation Department, we have two employees. We have Edna Rivera, Deputy Probation Officer 3, for 25 years of service, and Renee Spielman, Senior Program Assistant, for 25 years of service. From the Public Health Department, we also have two employees, Miguel Chavez Jr., Public Health Education Assistant, for 20 years of service, Cynthia Melendez, Public Health Education Assistant, for 20 years of service. From the Department of Public Works, we also have two employees, Robert Balcazar, road construction, 3 employees. Robert is a road construction and maintenance supervisor for 30 years of service. David Eller is a traffic sign supervisor for 35 years of service. And Christopher Hunt, road construction and maintenance supervisor for 30 years of service. And from the Department of Social Services, we have two employees, Amelia Iniguez, Employment and Training Worker 2, for 25 years of service, and Simone Walton, Social Worker Supervisor 1, for 20 years of service. So now for our first presentation, I'd like to call up Maria Miranda Castro to present the award for Raymond Huerta, Building Crafts and Maintenance Supervisor, for 25 years of service.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Maria Miranda Castro with General Services. It is my distinct pleasure to present Raymond, our building maintenance supervisor, with his award for 25 years of dedicated service. Raymond began his career as a senior lead worker with building maintenance out at the county jail back in 1994. He has moved up the ranks and was promoted to an HVAC specialist, then later to building maintenance supervisor in 2014. Raymond currently leads a crew of 10, whom he said are as awesome as they come and who make his job easier every day. Over the last 25 years, Raymond stated that he has most enjoyed working with each of the departments and watching the transformation the county has undergone with its new facilities. And although it's exciting news for Raymond, it's bittersweet for me to report that he's looking to retire at the end of the year. He plans to travel the country in his RV and visit his two children, Josh and Elise, in Seattle. He will also have more time to spend with his beautiful wife, Lillian, who he has been married to for 30 years. And on a personal note, it's been a true honor to work with Raymond over the last 5 years. He is knowledgeable, patient, professional, kind, and funny. And I just have to say, Raymond's assessment of his team is exactly my assessment of him. He's as awesome as they come. Yeah. Congratulations, Raymond.
So we're gonna have to wait one more year until we move this RV, and then you'll be.
I don't know. I think we ought to hold the award so we can keep him here for a couple more years. You can't leave, buddy.
You're the best.
You're younger than me.
No, I'm not. I just want to say that we have a good team in the General Service Building Division. It all starts at the top with Maria, Marianne, and the project managers we have up there. Iggy's awesome up there. And then the guys that I have in the shop to go out there and do the work. It makes my job easy, and I enjoy working.
That makes
Coming
you
to
look
work.
good too, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Next, from the Assessor's Office, I'd like to call up Gary Zvanda, Assessor, to present awards for Judy Allen, Assessment Technician for 20 years, and Erin Hayashi, Supervising Appraiser for 20 years.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Gary Savanda, Madera County Assessor. It is truly my honor to recognize two of our veteran employees out of the Assessor's Office. First, I think they're making their way up here. We'll recognize Judy Allen. On February 16th of 1999, Judy came to the Madera County Assessor's Office. She had previously worked in a medical office over in Chowchilla. She was originally hired as an OA2 in the assessor's office, and quickly after just 1 year, she promoted to the position of clerk. And then, as soon as a position became available, which was 8 years later, she became a technician, which is the highest level of responsibility that we have in the assessor's office. Judy has jobs that include things like processing roll corrections, making decisions on exemptions and exclusions from tax responsibilities for groups such as veterans, religious organizations, homeowners. Just about everything we do, Judy has done. Wow. Now she's helping to teach our newer techs how to perform their duties. And she's sharing all these years worth of valuable information. When not helping out in the assessor's office, Judy spends time with her church in Chowchilla and her family that includes 4 sons and 6 grandchildren. Next year, she will celebrate 50 years of marriage with her husband Stan, an exceptional milestone that more than matches the 20 years of service to Madera County. So I thank and welcome Judy Allen.
Speech?
It's been a real privilege to work for the County of Madera, and I've made a lot of friends, and I've learned a lot of things, and it's a nice place to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second recipient is Erin Hayashi. Back in '99, Erin was on his way to Santa Maria on the coast to look for a job. But by passing through Madera, he found an opportunity to just practice filling out the applications and interviewing for a job. Well, we stopped him right there. Erin was hired immediately, and he was hired as an appraiser into the assessor's office. A year later, he was promoted to an appraiser 2, and then on to an appraiser 3, or advanced classification, by 2002. When Mr. Ken Thorpe retired after 30 years of service to Madera County, Erin stepped into the supervisor's position over the entire residential division in our office. And as I have told you before, the residential section performs and puts on the roll more than 50% of the value.
Wow.
Erin has initiated a process of direct enrollment using technology that has served as a savings of more than 100, maybe hundreds of man-hours in that activity. He and just 2 other appraisers perform between 2,000 and 3,000 original appraisers each year. And their appraisals are not even disputed by the people that he's doing the work for. Last year, He oversees more than 43,000 APNs in seven appeals of their work. Aaron was born in Honolulu and raised in Southern California. He thought about a career in ag, so he came up and attended Fresno State University. He graduated there in 1990. While he was there, he met his wife, Liz, and they were married in 1995. And they've been married for 24 years. Together, they share 3 wonderful girls. His wife, Liz, has accepted a position in Ventura County as the school psychologist. Yet Aaron stays here with Madera and continues to be our residential supervisor. That's a heck of a commute.
Right.
His department, as I said, values over 43,000 APNs with 7 appeals against their values. I would like to personally thank and recognize Aaron Hayashi for 20 years of outstanding service. For you, sir. Congratulations. Would you like to say a couple of words?
I feel pretty lucky to work here. You know, in the 20 years I've worked for 2 assessors, Tom Kidwell and Gary, so they've kept the ship very steady for us in the assessor's office. So it kind of makes it a little easier for everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
From the Department of Child Support Services, I'd like to call up Sarah Honeycutt, Director of Child Support Services, to present awards for Letitia Gutierrez, Child Support Assistant 2, for 20 years of service. Araceli Maciel, Child Support Assistant 2, for 20 years of service. Ophelia Maciel, Child Support Supervisor, for 20 years of service. And Sonia Smith, Child Support Assistant 3, for 20 years of service.
Good morning, Chairman and the Board. I am very happy to be here and so proud to have this staff with me. 20 years of service is a long time, and fortunately I have been with them my entire career. I'm going to start off with Letty. Do not allow the short package to think that that's not a qualifier, because she is absolutely dynamic in our office. She provides us with great customer service, and she does.
Talk into the microphone.
Oh.
Can't hear you.
And I've asked some of our staff to say something about her, and she's always willing to jump in. She's always professional, and she's a wonderful person to work with. And Letty does all of our intake interviews. She is in charge of our intake unit, and she does an absolute fabulous job. She also does our translating, and we couldn't do it without her. And so for Letty, and I doubt I'll get anyone to speak. Are you going to speak?
Just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
They're pretty shy. I'm not going to get very many up here. Okay, so now we have Araceli Maciel, who I have to say has probably got the best work and family life of any person I know. She is so much fun to work with. She keeps us on our toes. She was originally a child support assistant, and she's moved on to being a child support specialist. She was only doing establishment, and now she's on to enforcement, and she was willing to take on the job without fear. And, well, I won't say no fear, but she took it on because she knew she could do it, and so did we. And so that is for Zoe. They're really shy, I'm telling you. Ophelia Maciel has been with the county for 20 years. She's worked in our department for 18 years, and I have had the opportunity also to work with her my entire career. She started out as a child support specialist, and she is now currently one of our supervisors. And I have to tell you, she is one of the highly respected people in our office. I asked staff, and they all kind of said the same thing. She's always there. She's a calm,
She really treats everyone equally, and she cares about the staff that she works for, and she cares about the work we do. And for that, I think she might.
I just want to say thank you. It's easier said than done, and it seems unreal that it's been 20 years. I started off with it was supposed to be temporary. That's what my husband wanted, and here I am 20 years later. So it's been a pleasure.
And last but not least is Sonia Smith. Come on over here. Sonia is so great in our office. She is a child support assistant 3. She takes care of all of our scheduling. She makes sure everybody knows what they need to do. She also ensures that people are trained and and knows what their job is. We love her greatly. She is leaving us at the end of January, so this is very hard for me because I hate to see her go. But I do have to tell you a funny story because no one else would give me a better story. And one day I was talking with her and I said, I asked her a question and she says, "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I have my glasses on." And I said, "What?" And she goes, "Oh, these new glasses." And that's been probably 5 years ago, and I still continue to use that. Can you hear me? Because I know your glasses are on. And it is with much pleasure that I give this to Sonia, and I wish that this was not the last time I was giving her a plaque.
Thank you.
And so Larry Bradley and I would like to also present them with flowers to show our appreciation for them. So, thank you.
She even kept one for herself. Look at that.
Next, from the Corrections Department, I'd like to call up Manuel Perez, Corrections Director, to present the award for Stephen Alva, Correctional Corporal, for 20 years of service.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Manuel Perez, your Director of Corrections. Who I have with me today is Corporal Stephen Alva. Stephen Alva started his employment as a correctional officer in 1998. He went to the academy within the year of 99. And some of the current things that he's done in the department, he is currently a correctional training officer. He's worked in the transportation division. He's also been certified as a hostage negotiator, special emergency response team operator. In 2019, he was promoted as a corporal. He's been an armor for the department where they maintain the weapons. A range master. He is the current union president, and he just returned from the Correctional Academy as being a supervisor. As a corporal in our department, on the weekends, when the leadership is enjoying their weekends off, and I want to say enjoy because he's on duty on the weekends. And it is truly something where the leadership really can't feel comfortable with a two-strapper running the jail. And I tell people, when I'm not there, the corporals that are on duty make those difficult decisions. But they make the right decisions. And they're not always easy because sometimes I do get phone calls in the middle of the night with a situation, but they're not the phone calls to say, hey, Chief, what do you want me to do? It's more or less, Chief, this is what we've done, and this is what's going on, and this is how we're taking care of it. And that this is the backbone, starting off with the corporals to the sergeant to lieutenants of a good organization. And with 20 years, Stephen Alva, I'd like to congratulate you because you've been an outstanding officer. I look forward to you being an outstanding supervisor because it's true what they say right now because you just got promoted is that you're the worst supervisor because you're still learning, and I expect a lot of big things from you. You know, and we have a running thing at the jail is that when you get newly promoted, you are the worst supervisor. Doesn't mean you're not good, but we know you're going to be better with the experience and time. So congratulations.
it's the first time in a long time I've been able to come up here and thank my bosses directly. Of course, Chief Perez is my direct boss, but you guys are the highest boss in the county. So thank you for the things you guys do. Really, really grateful to be working in Madera County Jail. It's a great organization. And I know it's a tough job. I know a lot of people don't see it time to time, day to day, all the craziness that goes on. That when you see these TV shows about other jails, we see that, we kind of laugh because that's on like the 10% scale of what we see every day. But in this training class, we just came back from the Supervisor Academy. We're talking about the incarceration deaths, and I think we're less than 1%. I'm pretty sure we're the lowest in the nation right now. Madera County is.
Right.
So we do our best to serve you guys, and just grateful to have a job with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Where do you think you're going, Chief?
Next, I'd like to call Chairman Brett Frazier to present the award for Chief Manuel Perez, our Corrections Director, for 25 years of service.
I thought you were getting off light, that was the only thing you were going to do. Chief has been here for 25 years. I've never known a different chief since the time I've been on here, and I'm glad I've never had to know a different chief. Manuel started his career here in 1994. That was after 4 years with the Marines, with active tours, with numerous distinguished combat awards. So before I thank you for this service, I'd like to thank you for that service so that we can stand here today. He started in 1994 to 96 as a Correctional Officer 1 and 2. 96 to 2002, he promoted to the first line supervisor. At that point, he was the worst supervisor, right? In 2002 to 2008, he promoted to the rank of sergeant, where he was the worst sergeant. 2008 to 2011, he promoted to the rank of lieutenant, the worst lieutenant. 2011, he promoted to the best dang chief of Department of Corrections that the state has seen.
That's right.
Won many awards. You go out, we get grants. The collaboration between all of the different departments with your department is astounding, and we're proud to have you as a member of our team and everything you do to keep the community safe. So thank you for your 25 years of service to the County of Madera.
Just a few words is thank you. First of all, 25 years. For the ones who just started with the county, it goes by very fast. Don't look to the end, just look to your next step. Madera County has been a great organization. It does start with your leadership. So if you're a subordinate and you have leadership above you, please support them, because they cannot do their job unless they have the support of the subordinates. And we don't look good unless the subordinates do an outstanding job for us. So I'd like to say thank you, and Madera County is a very, very outstanding place to live and raise your children. I'm not a Maderian, but I do call Madera home. I am what they refer to as an implant, but I tell you what, I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you.
This is my district, too.
Yes.
We're proud of you, Chief. Thank
This
you
is-
for weathering the storms.
This is the only way to spend 25 years in jail, right?
Woo.
From the District Attorney's Office, I'd like to call up District Attorney Sally Moreno to present the award for Darren Batty, District Attorney Criminal Investigator, for 25 years of service.
Good morning. We had to work hard to get Darren here. He's not big on receiving awards. Darren was actually first hired by the county as a reserve deputy in 1988. He transferred shortly thereafter to the probation department in the early 90s. If you do the math, you'll see that that's more than 25 years. That's because in those early 90s, the county went through some tough times. And Darren and several other people were laid off from the probation department. He weathered that storm, was hired back at juvenile probation, and worked there helping our young people. Eventually, in the early 2000s, he moved to the district attorney's office, where he's been for the last 19 years. As a district attorney investigator, he's handled just about every job. He's done the welfare fraud, he's done regular investigations, and now he has what I think is one of the most difficult jobs that we have. He works with the prisons, dealing with crime there. It's particularly difficult not only because of the administrative burden, dealing with state-level administration issues, dealing with county-level administration issues, but also dealing with very violent criminals and dangerous things that are going on in those prisons. Obviously, it's very hard to get witnesses. Nobody wants to testify about what's going on. They live there, after all. So he does an amazing job of building those cases, keeping our community safe, and he's always done an amazing job for us. We look forward to having Darren around, hopefully another 25 years. And he told me he doesn't want to talk, so I'm just going to bring him up here and congratulate him. Thanks, sir.
No speech? Yeah.
Next, from the Probation Department, I'd like to call up Jose Pantoya, Deputy Chief Probation Officer, to present awards for Cruz Macias, Probation Technician 2, for 30 years of service, and Flora Munoz, Deputy Probation Officer 3, for 20 years of service.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jose Pantoja, Deputy Chief of the Probation Department, and I have the honor and privilege today of recognizing two of our staff members, Officer Flora Munoz and Cruz Macias, who are right behind me. Probation has had a great year, and a lot of that is attributed to our leadership and also our great staff. So thank you guys for giving us this opportunity of recognizing our staff. So I'll start off with Flora Munoz, who's been with our department for, it's actually been a little over 20 years because she started in the extra help capacity. Flora Munoz, she has done various assignments in both the juvenile and adult unit and has excelled at all her duties. In February of 2016, our department created a warrant retrieval position after noting the increase of bench warrant cases within the probation population that included PRCS, which is post-release community supervision, and those that are released from prison are now being supervised by the probation department. And for those of you guys who don't know, this started in about October of 2011 that our department has been doing this. In early 2017, Officer Munoz, in collaboration with the Sheriff's Department, created the POP team, which is Problem-Oriented Policing. Officer Munoz took on a vital role in this implementation of the POP team and apprehended fugitives in our community. Since being in her assignment, Officer Munoz has arrested more than 450 individuals in the community. And in looking at these cases, these are a lot of high-risk cases that are homicide suspects, gang members, retrieval of weapons and drugs in our community. For many of these contributions, Officer Munoz was actually recognized as Employee of the Year for our department and was recognized at this year's Employee of the Year for the Law Enforcement Dinner. Officer Munoz is always willing to help others, keeping our community safe. So thank you, Officer Munoz, for your dedication, loyalty, and commitment to our department.
No speech?
The record shows it all.
Yep.
I just want to say that thank you to, I've had the opportunity to work with two amazing departments, the Sheriff's Department and the Probation Department, and I consider myself blessed for that. I've learned a lot from both agencies, and I've worked with amazing people and have made special relationships and friends with them. So, thank you.
Cruz Macias. Cruz has been with our department for a little over 30 years. She also started in the extra help capacity as well. We'd like to say she's a historian of our department for her years of service with us. There's only been one other employee with our department that has been under the leadership of 3 chiefs, soon to be 4. And she has held various assignments and housed in many county buildings. I'm guessing her favorite was on 6th and I Street. So those of you guys that know that building on 6th and I Street, it's a 2-story building in that corner, and downstairs was the elderly center. And then as you can imagine, the population was right upstairs, so our doors were really close to each other. So sometimes they would get our probation clientele, and then we'd get the elderlies that were a little bit mobile that were able to climb up the stairs. So we learned a lot not to mix clientele. We've come a long way. Cruz has many great qualities. One that stands out is her strong work ethic. She also has had various assignments, and she even reports to work ill. Her strong work ethic is demonstrated. She's had a medical procedure, and shortly after she returns to work, I often question her doctor's release notices. I'm sure she has a lot of influence on that. She has the I stay at work late mentality and stays until the job is done. Cruz is a huge contributor to our unit's high morale. She's always thinking about others before herself. Cruz always remembers staff's birthdays and holidays, and her positive energy creates a harmonious work environment. Cruz Macias, thank you for your years of service and dedication to our department.
Yeah, I didn't think I would find myself standing here before you and a lot of the coworkers in 30 years. I've met a lot of great people, seen a lot of great people come and leave. I'm not a great speaker, so please bear with me. A little emotional, but it's been a great 30 years. When I first got hired on, my plan was to be a probation officer, but unfortunately it didn't happen, but I'm good. I'm okay with that. I'm a probation tech. I do the job of a probation officer, but a little bit less stress, and I'm grateful for being given the opportunity to do the job that I do. It's a rewarding job. I see people on the streets that I've dealt with in the past years, and it's nice to see them come up and thank you and say, hey, you remember me? I saw you 10 years ago and you helped me. A few words that you said made that change and a difference in my life, and that's pretty good. Makes me feel good. I have a great team. I've had great bosses. Everybody's been amazing. This is like my second family, the department, 30 years. And to this day, I mean, we've got employees that are gone, and we are still able to have our little gatherings and catch up, like as if we just, we haven't seen each other in years, and we are able to get together, and it's just like we were just together yesterday. So it's pretty awesome. I'm pretty blessed. A few years ago, I was going through Facebook, and you see all these quotes, and there was one that kind of just stood out. Like I said, I'm very blessed and appreciate everything. And there was just one that I keep stuck to my computer screen that it's just a constant reminder for me, because of course I wish I coulda, woulda, shoulda. But 30 years now, I'm a lot closer to retirement here. And so I'm pretty excited, but I'm just going to leave you with this. And it says, appreciate what you have, where you are, and who you are with in this moment. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
From the Public Health Department, I'd like to call up Sarah Boss, Public Health Director, to present the award for Melody Vizcarra Keller for 25 years of service.
Hello, Sarah BOS, Public Health Director. Come on. This is Melody Keller, and it's my honor to present and acknowledge Melody for 25 years of service as a public health nurse with Department of Public Health in Madera County. She now has worked in nearly every program that requires a public health nurse in her 25 years and is the Deputy Director of Clinical Nursing Services for the department. She joined me in the executive team when I had just been at the department for 1 month, and so it was the two of us for a while, and now we have a 4-member executive team. And so it's been wonderful to kind of take this 2-year journey with Mel, who has been with the department for so long. She adds a lot of context to the work that we're doing. And so as the Deputy Director, she now oversees all 4 of our clinical sections of the department. That includes our clinics, our communicable disease unit, the public health laboratory that we honored earlier, and our children's medical services. I just want to highlight work that Mel has done in the last 2 years that's been really significant. As your board knows, and it's very difficult to recruit public health nurses. It's very competitive across different health departments, and it's really a niche. Public health nurses are a rare breed. They don't just do the nursing work. They're also teachers and coaches and health strategists and advocates. And so in the last 2 years, Melody has really instituted a nurse intern program that's been hugely successful. We now have all of our vacancies filled for public health nurses. We have a pipeline and also a waiting list of students that want to be a part of this internship program at our department. And so I just wanted to talk about Mel's leadership style. She's known for being really positive as an athlete and as a mom. She's a great coach. And her family is here. Her husband Don and her son Samuel are here. Raise your hand. Awesome. And she's known for her sports analogies. All of her coaching comes in sports analogies, and really for her dry wit. We laugh a lot, and it was Mel's idea for the executive team to go caroling through the department yesterday. So we had on ugly sweaters and hats and went and sang to all the sections through the building. That's the kind of leadership that Mel offers. Not only is she a great supervisor and she can deliver the tough information that people really need to hear in that constructive coaching, but she can also really have a great time. And so it's really my pleasure to work alongside Mel every day. She's a leader that's genuine and sincere. And so congratulations on 25 years of service.
Thank you to the board. It's been a privilege working in Madera County with the Madera County Department of Public Health for 25 years. I have to say that being here this long, I have learned a lot, I've worked a lot, I've grown a lot in my career. I am so thankful to my current colleagues, my former colleagues, the Department of Public Health staff, to my boss, Sarah, for her leadership and her vision. I see great things for our future in public health. But most of all, I'd like to thank my husband and son for their boundless love and support, for whom without them, I would not be here today. Thank you.
From the Sheriff's Office, I'd like to call Sheriff Jay Varney to present awards for Patrick Majeski, Sheriff's Commander for 30 years of service, and Darren McMecken, Sheriff's Lieutenant for 30 years of service.
Thank you, Susan. Before I recognize my own people, I'd just say that Raymond Huerta is the reason why the county looks so physically good. So, man, power up that recruitment, because he's got big shoes to fill, I'll just say. So I'm going to recognize Patrick first, because rank-wise, he's the ranking person we're recognizing today. Patrick Majeski was hired as a deputy by the Madera County on October 1st, 1989. Throughout his career, he's been assigned to a number of different aspects of the sheriff's office, including a field training officer, field training supervisor, to the SWAT team, to the MADNET, the narcotics enforcement team, and he's currently an EMT. The board approved that program to allow us to pay a little extra for that, and he's one of the people that did the extra work to reach that level of certification. And in terms of field work right now, one of the important things that he is engaged in is he is one of the FAA certified drone pilots. So if you see footage or you see someone out flying a drone at one of our search warrants or something, it's most likely Patrick and maybe Chief Civil Deputy Mott's out there doing that. Patrick is particularly skilled at those things that a lot of us don't want to do, like all that background stuff, like the radios and the records and the record management system and the dispatch software and all that garbage. And he just has a real skill with that. He's been particularly instrumental in trying to get a very bureaucratic agency known as the California Department of Justice to release their approval of something related to the Mark 43 record management dispatch software implementation that he's been working on. He's also one that has designed our black and white police vehicles, so everything that's on there was work that Patrick did quite a bit of that on his own time. So total, Patrick spent 14 years as a deputy, 9 years as a sergeant, 6 years as a lieutenant, and is currently finishing up his first year, his probationary year as a commander. And as with about 10 other people at the sheriff's office, Patrick isn't really Patrick's first name. His first name is really Harold, so that's why, or Harry, that's why it says that here on the plaque. So come on forward here.
I'll just say a couple quick words. It's lunchtime, so I think everybody wants to leave and get some lunch. But it's been an honor. 30 years has flown by. I know Manuel said, you know, the time flies. It does. I can't imagine being here in 30, you know, standing here after 30 years. I remember 5 years ago, I said, well, I hope I got another 10 in me. Right now, I'm hoping I got another 5 in me. But
You do.
It has been an honor. The things the county has done, where we're going as a county is awesome. I think the future is extremely bright for Madera County.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
The math still works out with that extra 5 years for the 10. I think we're good.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I think Liz will probably have some input into that with Patrick. So Darren actually started with us in 1987, but he started as a reserve deputy sheriff and particularly worked either patrol up in out of the old Eastern Madera County Sheriff's Office, office up there that no longer exists, and as boat patrol. From 1989 to 1998, he worked as a deputy sheriff, was assigned to patrol in the valley, to investigations, and also to MADNET. In 1998, Darren was promoted to sergeant. He was assigned as a search and rescue coordinator to boat operations and as the detective supervisor for the Valley Division, because at that time the detective division was split between the valleys and the mountains. Darren was promoted to lieutenant in 2004. He has been assigned in the previous scheme of things as the lieutenant over the Oakhurst substation when it was kind of like its own division. He's been the lieutenant over professional standards. He's been the lieutenant over patrol, and as of December, he's now the lieutenant over investigations and over professional standards. I'd also like to add in there that Darren had a significant amount of input into the design and construction of the Oakhurst substation. So when you're up there, it's a pretty good flow and it works pretty good, and Darren was very deeply involved in designing that. He was also been a dive team member for 25 years, from 1990 to 2015, and was a SWAT team member from 1990 to 2003. He has a bachelor's degree. He also received his master's degree from Grand Canyon University last December. He also served 20 years in the California Army National Guard and was Deputy of the Year in 2001, and that's Darren McMakin. So.
Yay, Darren.
And Darren has had a few words, but I will turn the mic
Come
over
on,
to him.
Darren, say hi.
I'd just like to say thank you. It's a great honor to be here today. I would just like to say that being a deputy sheriff really is a cool job. I have been able to do a lot of things that I'm sure a number of people have not been able to do, whether it be scuba diving or hiking in the mountains or flying in helicopters. So I've really enjoyed my time here, and I appreciate this.
Thank you, Darren.
So if you ever go on a hike with Darren, be prepared. I think he won his age division in the 10K side of the Smoky Bear Run this year, too.
Yeah.
So he can still move.
Try to keep up.
And last but certainly not least, from the Department of Social Services, I'd like to call up Deborah Martinez, Director of Social Services, to present awards for Veronica Esther Plates, I hope I said that correctly, Social Worker Supervisor 2 for 20 years of service, and Adelita Verduzco, Employment and Training Worker 3 for 20 years of service.
Good afternoon, members of the board, and happy holidays. Deborah Martinez, our director, couldn't make it today, so I'm Karen Sandu, Deputy Director of Social Services. So it gives me great honor to recognize two wonderful ladies today for their 20 years of service and their commitment to serve our community. So first of all, I'd like to start with Veronica Plates, who is a social worker supervisor with child welfare. So Veronica, oh, there you are. No, there you go. So Veronica began her employment with the county on April 12, 1999 as a social worker 1. And in May of 2000, she promoted to social worker 2, a position she's held from June 2000 to June 2002. So in June 2002, she promoted to social worker 3. And in June 2016, she promoted to social worker 4 after receiving her MSW. So she's held this position. So from there, after receiving her social worker, she's held her position until March 2017 when she promoted to her present assignment as a social worker supervisor 2 for Child Welfare Division. Veronica is proud of her ability to work up the ranks with Madera and holds a tremendous amount of knowledge because of her longevity with the county. She's trained on multiple areas in child welfare. Along with her supervisory responsibilities, she's also a liaison for foster youth who are in need of special juvenile immigration status. So Veronica has been able to obtain both her bachelor's and master's of social work degrees from CSU Fresno while remaining employed with the department. So she has stated on many occasions she is proud of the work she does with the children and families in the community, and that's just a small part of her larger plan to better the community and the county. She's a proud resident of Madera, raising her children and grandchildren in the city and participating in many community activities, both professionally and personally. So congratulations, Veronica.
I would like to appreciate my parents that are here for me, my daughter and my sister in the community that is present. I'm very proud to have worked in Madera County for this long, 20 years. It's easier to said to be done, but I'm very proud. I love my job every day, and I also always tend to be told, you know a lot, you know everything. And I say, no, I don't know everything, I know a lot. But my favorite quote is, we can't change the world, but we can change one child's world at a time.
That's right. Thank you.
I'd like to recognize Adelita Della Verduzco. So Della is actually an employment training worker with our Welfare to Work division, and she was primarily working with our child welfare cases, but now she's also working with our Welfare to Work division at the Workforce Assistance Center. So on May 10th, 1999, Della began her employment with the county as an eligibility worker 1. She was trained on multiple programs and carried a caseload of CalWorks, Medi-Cal, and CalFresh. Her bilingual Spanish skills have been extremely helpful in assisting our community. And after successfully completing her first 6 months, she was promoted to an eligibility worker 2, where she continued to learn additional programs to include CalLearn, County Medical Services Program, and general assistance. From there, she continued her eligibility worker training, and she promoted to an employment training worker 1 in June of 2003. She began her training with continuing welfare to work case management, and soon after completion of her first 6 months, she was provided with a new assignment facilitating orientation and completing the upfront process. Since then, she's gained experience working on many types of cases and assignments to include continuing, sanctioned, exempt vocational education, facilitating assessments, and in her current linkages and family stabilization caseloads. In her current role, Della works with families in the Child Protective Services, coordinating services for families who are involved with both CPS and welfare to work. This coordination is crucial in assisting families in meeting requirements for both programs without overloading them and assisting in regaining and maintaining custody of their children. So congratulations, Della, on your 20 years of service.
Good afternoon, Board. Thank you so much for this award. I just want to say that it's been a privilege working for Madera County, and I love my job also. And I can't believe it's been 20 years. It's gone by so fast.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That concludes our presentation, our award ceremony. Please feel free to enjoy the snacks that we have out in the back, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So it's going to be at 1 o'clock is when the interviews are for, but I'm going to buy everybody lunch that we can. From Jimmy John's. What's the rule? I think they close. Are they closed? Oh, whatever. Jimmy John's closed? Oh, okay. So, yeah, what time do they start? Oh, 1 o'clock. So, what is or the sub shop? The local one? Yeah, let's do the sub shops to mix it up. I'll think brother, thank you for watching. What do you guys want? Always, guys. Just let me listen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. We've already read into the record the closed session items. We will be going back to closed session right now. All right. Welcome back from, we don't have our county council here. All right, welcome back from closed session. Thank you all for your patience. County council, is there anything to report?
Chairman and members of the board, there are no reportable actions from today's closed session.
Thank you. And We will move on now to our 11 o'clock public hearings. We'll start with 6A.
6A, Board of Directors, Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Water and Natural Resources Department, hearing to consider adoption of a resolution adopting the Groundwater Sustainability Plan for the Madera Subbasin.
Are we, Stephanie, are we waiting on anybody to come back, any public that you know of, or? Okay, good. I don't think it's on.
There you go. Do it again.
Good afternoon. Stephanie and Agneson, Director of Water and Natural Resources. I am here for 3 public hearings for 3 GSPs for the Madera, Chowchilla, and Delta Mendota Subbasin. So for the Madera Subbasin Joint GSP, on January 24th, 2017, Madera County elected to become a Groundwater Sustainability Agency, GSA, for areas without GSA representation in the Madera Subbasin. The City of Madera, Madera County, Madera Irrigation District, and Madera Water District have collaboratively prepared a joint Groundwater Sustainability Plan, or GSP, that covers 95% of the Madera Subbasin area. 3 additional plans cover the remaining acreage, which we've discussed: the Gravelly Ford Water District GSA and New Stone Water District GSA and Root Creek Water District GSA. The GSAs have met monthly using presentations. I've briefed you at least monthly since last October of 2018 to keep you informed on our progress and to seek your input. On August 7th, 2019, the draft Madera Subbasin Joint GSP was released. It had a 90-day public comment period. It ended November 9th, 2019. On October 22nd, the Madera Subbasin Joint GSP Coordination Committee held a listening session to directly receive public comments. GSA staff and our consultants reviewed the 30 comments in writing as well as the verbal comments and responded to them and revised the draft GSP where warranted. The final draft GSP was presented to the Madera Subbasin Coordination Committee on December 2nd, 2019, and posted on the Madera County Water website. The Coordination Committee unanimously recommended that the final draft Madera Subbasin Joint GSP be adopted by the 4 GSAs. Madera County GSA published a notice December 4th and 11th in the Tribune, giving notice that a public hearing would be held today for the purpose of considering adoption of the GSP for its portion, our portion of the Madera County Madera Groundwater Subbasin. The final draft is presented to you for your review and adoption. Madera Water District GSA adopted this GSP December 11th. Madera Irrigation District adopted this GSP this afternoon. The City GSA has the opportunity to adopt it tomorrow night. That concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to take your questions. I'm here with Greg Young, our consultant and engineer, and Mike Linden, Deputy County Counsel.
Supervisor Poitras.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got number one, thank you so much for all your hard work in getting us to this point. Just a couple of questions. I'd like to know, and I've listened to it in some of the hearings in terms of, we've got this glide path, initially that's kind of like a bunny hill. It's 2% a year for the first 5 years, so essentially, we're not really reducing much in the way of water use. And yet, we've done some studies to determine, where the aquifer might be, and based on droughts and rain and who knows what. I've heard it mentioned in the past that we may have to increase the reduction of aquifer uptake if things are drier than we expect. How do we measure that, or how would we determine that? Like, have we made some projections, and then if things drop faster than we think they are, then we'll speed up or make the glide path steeper? And how's that going to go over? I mean, so I'd just like to hear what that answer is.
Sure, why don't I take a crack and then you can jump in, Greg. So we are modeling 2% a year for the first 5 years and then 6 to 7% afterwards. So after that 5-year point, things do increase in terms of demand
It's more of an
reduction.
intermediate hill rather than a bunny hill. Okay.
6 to 7% could be pretty substantial. It could be a black diamond at some point. We do have a network of groundwater monitoring wells with minimum thresholds for all the sustainability management criteria, and that is what is giving us the real-life data and feedback on whether or not our plan is working. So we're going to read the wells twice a year. We're also turning in an annual report where we can provide feedback on our performance and increase or decrease demand reduction. And we have the 5-year update of the plan where we could completely revise the strategy. And we can actually do that at any time. It just costs money and is expensive. What would you want to add, Greg?
I think that was actually a very thorough answer, that the key is the groundwater levels in the monitoring wells that we're going to be watching and adjusting otherwise. I think the other aspect of our plan is also to try and do a lot of recharge opportunities, and those take time to implement. They also require some water supplies that may or may not show up depending on the hydrology of the year. So if we face a series of drier years where we're seeing more of a drawdown starting to occur, we may have to speed up some of that diamond. Speed it up to a black diamond, I guess, or even a double. Hopefully
Double
not.
And that would
I
be
like doubles.
And that would be something that we would initiate, then we would be aggressive in initiating that.
That's right. So next year, we expect to do updates for you every other month from the GSA point of view in terms of our progress with the management actions, which is the demand reduction, and with the recharge projects. So that's something that's driven by you as the board. You're the decision makers.
My second question, and that kind of dovetails into, in terms of projects and recharge, that's going to take money. When are we going to start raising money or collecting money from GSA landowners to get some of these projects going? So when we do have a wet year, then we'll have conveyance system, recharge basins, and so forth. Because right now, I think all we voted on is 22% or $22 an acre for administration, and there's zero money for these other things. And I think some of the growers out there, landowners, are willing to start contributing because they have to.
Right.
So because of the fee that your board has passed, we have the ability to hire a rate consultant. And I think what we need is a multi-year strategy, because we're going to have to go through this 218 process, and it can be, as you know, painful. So I don't want to have to keep doing 218s. I want to have a very clear plan in place. What we need in order to do the 218 is the engineering study on how to stage our recharge activities, how to break that into pieces. And then the other piece of that is I don't think I'm announcing this prematurely, but we received a grant today to fund an incentive program that would help us develop an incentive structure to retire land. So that would also need a 218, but we need to have a consultant, I think, to guide us through the rate process, because otherwise we're just going to have to come back again and again with 218s, and I think that's pretty ill-advised.
Okay, thank you. And number 3, have we determined any kind of a penalty for excess water usage in the county-controlled areas?
We do not have a penalty right now. I mean, and that seems like that would be an ordinance of some sort.
Well, I mean, if there's no penalty or nothing like that, what's the incentive to stop or cut back on water use? So, I mean, if I was out there and had a bunch of land in the GSA and heard, hey, you guys have to reduce by 2%, 4%, whatever, but, well, we don't have a penalty. It's just like, well, who cares? I'm just going to keep pumping away.
So one of the items that we plan to purchase July 1 is the Landsat technology that will allow us to assess water use. It will probably be an iterative process, because that's the sort of thing you need to spend a little time to dial in make sure we know exactly what acres you're farming and what's there. But at the point where we know how much water we're using, we'll be in a position where we can charge fees based on use. And I think that's where you get something that could be a penalty in place. Go ahead.
I'd add something to that. The other aspect of penalty is if we do not show progress per the GSP for the county GSA areas in both the subbasins, we potentially run the risk of having the entire subbasin being out of compliance. And in the eyes of the state will start to take action in that light. And the state has, under the State Water Board regulations, there's a fee structure defined there, and they will just come in and impose fees. So, as Stephanie said, we're needing to kind of develop these processes. I think the initial years we can do demand reduction in various creative ways. We can potentially incentivize certain lands to come out, or people that want to participate and say, yes, give me some incentive dollars, I will take this land out of production and reduce that demand. But if overall, within the GSA, we still see demand going up as we're looking at it through satellite analyses or something of that sort, we are not able to indicate in those annual reports success in progress, and that becomes a red flag. And so I know we don't have a tool to say we're going to find people, but there's also this specter of the state sitting out there.
Therefore, we need a hammer. So
Yeah, big one.
Yeah.
Well, the way Sigma is written, GSAs have a lot of power. And so we do have the power to do some sort of penalty, but Mike points out you need an allocation in order to do a penalty. And where the advisory committee wanted us at least to explore is how to do an incentive structure to buy and retire land. And I know MID has some strong feelings on doing that as well. And it's certainly in their best interest to do that. But I think we have to explore what it would look like to come up with incentives, at least next year.
I think maybe both. I think both. I think all of the above. I mean, incentives are great, but there's going to be people that are going to say, who cares? And we know who those people are out there. There might be a few rogue GSAs, and I don't have to tell you who they are. And so, again, I think that we need to be proactive and not be naive about what could be occurring in the next few years. So.
Well, and keep in mind, this sub-basin structure holds us all accountable to one another. So we are going to want to make sure everybody is doing their projects and doing what is in their plan or plans.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Rob. I know that, couldn't agree more, Supervisor Poitras. There are those who will take advantage of the situation. That's why we're in this situation to begin with, because people will try to get away with whatever they can, generally speaking. But it's going to lead to more monitoring of the circumstances. In other words, I think in order to impose a penalty, you have to have measurement. And in order to have measurement, you have to have monitoring of every well that's part of the system that is going to be penalized. And so it's going to be a deep state circumstance, unfortunately, that I don't think you can get beyond. I just don't see any way getting around that in time. So when do we start that? That's the question. And when and how do we get there on a gradual basis? Because in many cases you have wells that have been in place for a number of years, and systems that are contiguous to those wells that don't allow for attachments of metering. In most cases, I think farming operations already have their own meters just for their own purposes. I think they are already metering to an extent. So, and I think they're going to do what they can to minimize their use of water in general, because their profit is contingent upon that anyway. However, as Rob said, as it gets through the years, as you get down to those really huge measurable changes, that's when you're going to see the real problem. There's going to be the advantage takers at that point, and we'll have to have that system in place. Immediately, I don't know. I don't think so. Down the line, definitely.
Any other questions? Yeah, I was, but you brought up the satellite imagery to, as a way to look at how much water is being used. Is that just using it based on what that crop should be doing, or does it actually check like soil saturation with water? Or, I mean, how does that technology work?
So I'll let Greg answer that. He's had meetings last week with a couple of potential vendors.
And then as you're explaining that, so how would somebody know that they're using 2% less, right? So if they're trying to calculate that, there's not like a little knob that they can turn that goes from 100% to 98% for their wells, right? So what is there best practices on how a pumper would be able to throttle that back by 2%?
So a couple of things, I think, to answer, hopefully help answer some of those questions. First off, the idea of the 2% ramp down, we'll talk about Madera Subbasin as an example. We've targeted an estimated total reduction in the entirety of the GSA's service area, which is about 185,000 acres. About 85 of that is irrigated right now, that we're going to need to reduce consumption in that entirety by about 90,000 acre feet. When we talk about 2% and then moving to the 5%, that's like about 1,800 acre feet a year. So after 5 years, about 9,000 acre feet, so first 10% in the first 5 years, so about 9,000 acre feet. That doesn't mean that 9,000 needs to be spread across every irrigated acre. It could be we take out the equivalent of, incentivize the equivalent of land to transition to something else that doesn't consume as much or is changed to something completely non-consuming of groundwater to get that increment. That means this other gentleman, this other irrigator can continue to irrigate as they're doing without any reduction of 2%, while this other person reduced 50%, right? And so there's ways to try and address and manage that. Obviously, there's the implications can also be hot spots where continued drawdown is occurring, and we want to be looking at all of that together. So that's part of what, there's no one solution, and we want to be adaptive here to be able to find solutions that will work. With respect to the satellite analyses, there's a couple of different approaches to do this, but essentially think of it as it doesn't matter what's on the ground, it's measuring the evapotranspiration from whatever is there, regardless of whether it's growing a tomato crop, a grass crop, a shrubbery in a front yard, an almond tree, a pistachio, or open water. It's measuring on a 30 by 30 meter parcel, or a basis. There's these pixels that are looked at across from the satellites, and they get an image every 8 days, I believe it is, about that throughout the year, and they do these energy balance equations. So it doesn't matter what crop is happening there. It matters what the evapotranspiration that's occurring. So you can see the changes even within a field that's got poor management on part of it, whatever. It might be a soil issue, it might be an irrigation issue, it might be a number of things. You have some areas that are well irrigated and are meeting closer to the potential, or maybe even slightly above the potential for that crop, versus other parts of that same field that might be significantly under irrigated just for whatever reasons. 30 by 30 meters is about 100 square feet, or 100 feet by 100 feet. So it's not 100 square feet, but that's 100 feet on each side, right? 1,000 square feet. So it's not that, it's 10 rows, 10 trees and by 10 trees, kind of, if you're on a 10 by 10 spacing, thinking of it that way. So it's so you have a lot of pixels within a 100-acre parcel, you have a lot of pixels. So it's measuring the heat, the energy balance, and that's how they do it. It's indifferent to what's growing there. And then we can get the entire calculation for the entirety of our GSA shape area, and we say, we're using X, and then next year we're using a little X minus, a little bit less. So if we start seeing the trend in the direction, that's where it can be very advantageous, without necessarily saying you have to do cranked down to 98%, and you have to go to 98%, and you have to go to 98%. There's other ways to address that. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, I just think it's going to be, especially if we're saying that there's a lot of ways to get there, and one person can keep pumping it the way they are. If somebody else retires a bunch of land, then everyone's going to be like, oh, I'm assuming that someone else is going to do that, so I'll keep status quo until I'm told differently, or hammered differently to use that. So I think we just need to know that, and if we have this data and we're seeing that nothing's really changing, and we won't really be able to see that because we'll only have, this will be year one data. I mean, I think it'll be an ongoing process to make sure that because if we don't get the 2% this year, we have to get 4% next year, right?
Correct. We need to show the trend. Obviously, the hydrology in each year and climate in each year is going to make that vary, but essentially we need to be showing a downward trend.
All right, Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, I know you're a consultant, but you didn't say your name, so I don't know what your name is.
I apologize. I'm Greg Young with Tully & Young, and we've been a consultant to the county for this development of the GSP.
Right. But so you're telling me that satellite imaging they can almost tell exactly what every piece of land is going to be using on their water?
It's a
closer
look
than
back.
meter?
It's a look back. So like, depending on how fast you process the different satellite images, if you had an image from 8 days ago, you should know what you just used 8 days ago, or up to that point.
So we can really judge if these guys are, say they have, every farm has a meter on their pumps, we can actually find out whether they're doing that right or not, huh?
With everything, all of them have error bars. A meter has error bars. Right now, using a satellite-based analysis for estimating evapotranspiration is starting to be a direction that a lot of GSPs up and down, or GSAs up and down the San Joaquin Valley are looking at and are using already.
What's the cost on that?
Some of the vendors are providing some different numbers, and I think as things continue to morph in that world, it's going to get less expensive. We've heard numbers significantly varied when right now we're talking to somebody that's way down on the low end.
Yeah, so as part of the GSA fee, we went out and we priced it. We were looking at $100,000 to $200,000 a year. The fee is coming.
For each one of these districts, or for the county?
Total for the 3 GSAs.
Oh, wow.
So
That's not that bad.
it's not bad, and I've been apprised by a couple of the vendors that their costs are coming down because it's catching on, and there's some
more and more doing it.
Yeah, some economies of scale.
I think we should look at if someone doesn't agree with that kind of science, then there should be some kind of opt-out provision where they have to provide well logs and meter data that is read by a SCADA, third party that if they choose or if they don't think that this is accurate or there has to be some way for them to, at their expense, choose some other form that is going to would be more expensive for us to implement. So.
To address that, first off, I would agree, and there are a few GSAs that already are developing what they would consider an appeal process. The unique thing with our situation here is we have 100% groundwater in our GSAs. Some of the other GSAs that have already embraced the satellite analyses are a lot of the ones that are surface water districts also and use groundwater partially. And so they're looking at how they deal with the satellite and then getting the combination of what came from the ground, what came from the surface. And so these meters and these appeal processes are getting some legs there, and so we should be able to learn a lot and be able to adapt without inventing our new wheel.
Supervisor Rogers?
I think if man, it doesn't work right. Come on.
Touch it one time.
Thank you. It's my finger that doesn't want to work right. I think if there's going to be appeal, there has to be a baseline for the appeal. So if a person is assuming that they're going to appeal, they're going to have to establish a baseline by having a third-party verify their meter reading and this and that. I think that's what's going to happen on an appeal circumstance. So it has to be a baseline appeal. It can't be just, I disagree with that, and
Right.
you know, you're going to have to lower it. That doesn't work. We want some science here. Anyway.
All right. Any other questions from the board? If not, this is a public hearing. We'll start on 6A. Any members of the public wishing to make comment at this time, please come forward.
Make a motion.
Oh, commenters.
You about waited too long, girl. We're moving on.
It's been a long day.
I saw you coming up. I wasn't moving on. Luckily, I control the public hearing.
Yeah. You having technical problems too?
Oh, no, we can.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. Good evening, Madeline Harris from Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. First off, I do want to recognize that a lot of work has gone into getting us to this hearing. So we've appreciated the opportunity to be working with you all on this and the opportunity to continue doing so as we move forward because as you probably read in our written comments that we submitted on the draft GSP, it seems like there's a lot of details still to be worked out. And so with that, I do want to echo the concerns that you all raised about the lack of an enforcement mechanism at this point on demand reduction on a localized and individualized basis. We do share those concerns, and we share those concerns I guess on two levels. First, on in the sense of being in compliance with what the sub-basin after the GSP is submitted to DWR has been claiming to the state that we will achieve in terms of demand reduction, but also maybe more importantly than that, just in terms of commitment to your constituents to protect their access to drinking water, which is something that we've brought up in our public comments repeatedly, and is something that we brought up in our written comments as well. So there's a lot of concern from the community when we talk with them about the draft GSP and about this process, and folks ask how much longer is it going to be before we lose running water. And for some of these people, they've lost running water in their homes before, right? And so there's a lot of concern about that, and our analysis estimated that an alarming number of wells were going to go dry. And so we do look forward to working with you all on a mitigation program, something that we've brought up as we've commented on the formation of a mitigation program has been that it's not just domestic wells that it would seem like need to be included in that, but also small community water systems, because it seems like the situation could be that dire that lack of more stringent pumping regulations could put those systems at risk. So I wanted to bring that up and just mention that the protection of drinking water access that we're referencing would be related to groundwater levels and related to groundwater quality. So as we put in our written comments as well, I think it's important that the sub-basin consider more than just arsenic, nitrates, and total dissolved solids. I think it's important, especially in light of the emphasis on on-farm recharge, to also consider things like TCP or other pesticides that could contaminate groundwater, because that's a GSA action that would be tied to water quality. We're also concerned about potential for disparate impacts of protected groups in the sub-basin when it comes to the human right to water. And since I'm running out of time, I think I'll just close out by saying that we are disappointed that more of the community's feedback regarding the sustainable management criteria and projects and management actions weren't more fully incorporated into the draft GSP before submission to DWR. So we don't think that the plan as it's currently written protects the sub-basin's most vulnerable residents. However, we do look forward to continuing to engage in this process and to ensure that Madera County and the Madera Sub-Basin has a viable economy that works for all people and protects all people's human right to water for years to come. So thank you for the opportunity to provide comments and for this public hearing.
Thank you.
Are you going to speak?
Please come
Come
forward.
on up.
Long day.
Yeah.
Here we are. Good afternoon. Angela Islas with Self Help Enterprises. We are also a partner with Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability that has been working with the Madera Sub-Basin groups very closely on performing outreach and engagement throughout this process of the SIGMA implementation, especially with the comment period. So we really do appreciate the opportunity that Madera GSAs have given us to really help with public participation. And we look forward to continuing that with the first year implementation for this GSP. Just really want to echo and acknowledge a lot of the concerns in the room, especially from the board and with our partner Leadership Council, and won't really touch up on a lot of those concerns. You know, I think that's something that I really do want to just say that I acknowledge really fully. And Self Help Enterprises does as well, as we work really closely with the communities of Parksville, Parkwood, Fairmead, that are dependent on domestic wells. But I do want to really just kind of make sure that I highlight you know, some other concerns that I feel like we need to acknowledge with today's adoption of the GSP. Definitely, you know, understanding that this plan is going to be a breathing document post-adoption. You know, we have 20 years to really make this plan be as effective to reach sustainability in the Madera Sub-Basin, but not only that, but with our other like partnering sub-basins of Chowchilla and Delta Mendota. So definitely Self Help Enterprises does really acknowledge that and look forward to really staying close in that process. Definitely when it comes to the consideration of you know, the technical analysis that Self Help Enterprises and Leadership Council have co-partnered in creating and presenting to the GSAs, we really do want to kind of just make sure that within the consideration of the first year implementation, that there is a look at performing a well impact analysis to really just try to capture effectively the number of wells that could go dry with the implementation. And that was a very huge concern with a lot of residents that we had done a workshop for in Parksville. They really want to make sure that there is a proper analysis, as many of those residents are dependent on wells for their drinking water purposes. When it comes to the implementation of the assistance program for domestic wells, I want to echo with my partner Leadership Council that there should be a consideration also to look into community wells to be a part of this assistance program. But residents have commented that with the consideration of the implementation of this program, that their recommendations would be to avoid offering loans as a way to have residents apply for this program, but also to look into seeking public funding to really support the implementation of the program and offer exemptions for those that are low income or severely low income who are unable to actually apply for these programs. So just a recommendation from the public. And lastly, just to also say that the residents do want to make sure that there is an inclusion of a very strong engagement process during the first year. Many residents were really looking forward to coming at this process, but due to schedule conflicts and just kind of the inconsistency for just the announcements for the sake of the residents to be present, they really do want to just really make sure that within the first year that the strategies that that Self Help Enterprises has presented in the comment letter be considered during the first year of its implementation. So quickly in closing, we really do want to acknowledge again, you know, that we've had a very tremendous year with public participation and a tremendous year putting this plan together. And we really do look forward to next steps and into the implementation of this plan coming 2020. So thank you so much.
What was your name?
Angela Islas, Self Help Enterprises. Yes, ISLAS, and I will sign it.
Buenas tardes. Soy miembro de la comunidad de La Vina. Mi nombre es Teresa Padilla Mendoza. Estoy aquí para hacerles saber mis preocupaciones acerca del agua subterránea para nosotros en el área de La Vina. Quisiera saber si ustedes ya tienen un plan para reemplazo del pozo de la comunidad, porque por lo que veo pronto quizás también nos quedemos sin agua y ¿quién reemplazaría ese pozo? Me gustaría mucho saber si ustedes ya tienen un plan de reemplazo para el pozo de la comunidad de La Vina. Y también me gustaría saber si no tienen los fondos, si tienen pensado aplicar para fondos estatales para reemplazarlo. También por los costos del agua, para nosotros, si los rancheros toman agua del pozo de nosotros o tienen un pozo aparte o el mismo pozo para ellos, porque nosotros también pagamos mucha agua y ellos están usando más agua que nosotros porque ellos tienen que regar todas sus tierras. No sé si ustedes tengan alguna respuesta para mí el día de hoy. Teresa Padilla Mendoza.
Hi, good morning. My name is Teresa Padilla Mendoza, and I'm here for you to listen to my concerns regarding groundwater around La Vina area. I want to know if you have a plan on how you are going to replace our community well. Because from what I see, soon perhaps we will end up without any water, and who's going to replace our community well if we end up without any water? I want to also know if you have a plan, a written plan for La Vina. And I also want to know if you don't have the funds available to make sure that you can replace our well, are you planning on applying for a grant to be able to make sure that you replace community wells? And also, there are a lot of farmers that are currently using some of our community well water. And what are we doing to make sure that if they are using more water than we are as local community members for their irrigation purposes, are they going to be held accountable to make sure that we don't end up with a dry well? I want to know, do you have any responses for me today? That was a question.
Is there, and we won't respond during public comment time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment on item 6A? Seeing none, I'll call close to the public comment portion of the public hearing.
Move to approve.
And so, first, I do want to thank both of your organizations, as well as the Farm Bureau, the irrigation districts, everybody that came together during this public process that's taken a long time to get to this point. I want to thank Stephanie for choosing to come to Madera County when you did.
Yep.
I think
Wouldn't have made it without her.
Perfect timing. I appreciate your ability to work with everybody and try and bring this all together in a, Greg, thank you also for choosing to be here, also getting a good contract with us. But, this is a issue that affects all of us. This is an issue that that is important to every single person on this board and everybody in this community. I'll say in my district, 90 to 95% of the people that live in my district are dependent upon either a private well or a small to medium sized district. There's a lot of the ag community interfaces. I think it's been important that while a lot of the decisions are made at these meetings, that we've gone to the public and to the meetings to when the time is available with them to understand the process. It is very important to me to make sure that everybody that is that lives in not just my district but Madera County has access to clean drinking water. Spend most of our time in special districts looking for different grants, ways to get money for those districts, ways to find money within the district and run them more efficiently. But we need to make sure, and I think you heard it from this board today, that we are very focused on making sure that this glide path is met. We need to do that, not just, a lot of times it's easy to say because the state came up with Sigma and we have to do it, and I don't think we're hiding from the fact that we have to do it for what's best for Madera County, for our industry, for our people, for everybody. If we don't go down this path, then everything will dry up and we won't have a community to call home. So I think I hate that it took so long to get here just today, this individual day, because of how important this is, but I'm glad that we are here at this point. I heard a motion to approve, and you have my word that we will continue to look for any grants, and we'll need your help as community partners to lobby the legislature to get that kind of money available for those communities as well, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future.
And this is going to be a process.
Second.
This isn't the end of the deal. This is going to be a process that's going to continue through time. So
We have a motion and a second by Supervisor Wheeler. Roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
6B, more of the same, just for the Delta Mendota. Is that?
I have a short thing to read,
Okay.
shorter than the last one. On January 24th, 2017, Madera County elected to become a groundwater sustainability agency for the areas in the Delta Mendota subbasin and within the county that did not have other representation. The San Joaquin River Exchange contractors have led the development of this GSP for our GSP group, which includes the exchange contractors, Turner Island, cities of Dos Palos, Gustine, Newman, Los Banos, Firebaugh, Mendota, as well as Merced County and Madera County. GSAs have met monthly. As I previously mentioned, I briefed you 15 times since October 2018 with PowerPoint on progress. We've also briefed the advisory committee monthly for all of 2019. We published a notice December 4th and 11th in the Madera Tribune, giving notice that a public hearing would be held today for the purpose of adopting the GSP for our portion of the Delta Mendota groundwater subbasin. The final draft of the groundwater sustainability plan for the San Joaquin Exchange Contractors GSP group, which includes us, is presented to you today for your review and adoption. We'd be glad to take your questions.
I don't have a question. I have a major oversight in the last time. Mike, thank you for keeping us very legal in all this. And not that water law is all that complicated, but we really appreciate you keeping us on track and legal. So thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any members of the public wishing to come forward? Seeing none, I'll call a close to the public comment portion of the public hearing.
move to approve.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
And a second from Supervisor Poitras. Roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
6C. You have your thing to read there,
I
too?
have my thing to read. On January 24th, 2017, Madera County elected to become a groundwater sustainability agency for the areas without GSA representation in the Chowchilla subbasin. Chowchilla Water District GSA, Madera County GSA, Merced County GSA, and Triangle T Water District GSA have collaboratively prepared a single GSP for the Chowchilla subbasin. On August 5th, 2019, the draft GSP was released for a 90-day comment period. We held a listening session on October 27th to receive comments from the public. Within the comment period, the 90-day public comment period ended November 5th. GSA staff and our consultants reviewed the 10 comments received in writing as well as the verbal comments and responded to them and revised the draft GSP where warranted. The final draft GSP was presented to the Chowchilla Subbasin GSP Advisory Committee on November 20th and posted on the Madera County Water website. The advisory committee unanimously recommended that the final draft of the Chowchilla Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Plan be adopted by the 4 GSAs. Madera County published a notice on December 4th and 11th in the Tribune, giving notice that the public hearing would be held on December 17th for the purpose of adoption of a GSP. The final draft of the Groundwater Sustainability Plan for the Chowchilla Subbasin is presented to you today for your review and adoption. Merced County adopted the document on December 10th. Chowchilla Water District GSA adopted the document December 11th, and Triangle T adopted the document on December 12th.
This is a public hearing. I'll now open the public comment portion of the public hearing. Any members of the public wishing to come forward and make public comment at this time? Seeing none, I'll call close to the public comment portion of the public hearing.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second from Supervisor Wheeler. Roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And County Council suggested I make one note based on the consent item that Supervisor Wheeler had a question on.
Yeah, I figured it out here.
Okay.
That, there was, I wrote it all down here, doggone it. There was $483,000 left in the, I mean, that's what was in the grant. You spent $420,368.
Yes.
Which left us $62,632, and you're spending 62 of that. So that's just what's left in the grant.
Yes, we're leaving $600 on the
Right.
table.
Aye.
We're trying not to.
See?
That's
Squeeze
okay.
every drop.
Kept
I'm
looking at
trying.
that today, trying to
Put
figure
that
it
in the
out. and I said,
contingency. I'm
Put some
sure
gas
we'll-
in the truck.
That's right, we might be able to do that.
All right, so that's clarified.
Thank you.
7D, oh, I'm sorry. Almost went past you guys. I apologize. I turned my page. 6D.
6D, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division, 2020 Agriculture Preserves and Farmland Security
Stephanie.
Zones. 1, hearing to
Stephanie.
consider an ordinance for the rezoning of lands currently proposed and inclusion in the Agriculture Preserve Farmland Security Zone Program for 2020. Districts are from the Ag Rural Foothills and the Ag Rural Exclusive, 20 acres. Also hearing to consider approval of resolutions establishing 2020 agricultural preserves in the items listed. Discussion and consideration of entering into an ag preserve contracts for year 2020 and authorize the chairman to sign. Discussion and direction to prepare CEQA guideline. Discussion and direction to prepare a notice of exemption per the CEQA guidelines section.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a PowerPoint presentation. This item and parts of this item were heard back in October by the board. And Ms. Bax, my Deputy Director of Planning, has a presentation. We also have Brian Glover here with the Assessor's Office to assist us as well in this presentation.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jamie Bax with Madera County Planning. Before you is the 2020 Williamson Act program. As part of this program, there are also required rezones. I'll show you on some map slides as we move forward here that there are some applications that do require a rezone. The zone district that all parcels are required to be in is ARE 40, and that's to be more restrictive and not allow divisions into parcels too small to support agriculture. So this year we do have some rezones from ARF, Agricultural Rural Foothills District, and the ARE 20, Agricultural Rural Exclusive 20-acre district. Under CEQA, this item is exempt for ag preserves. So the first ag preserve is 1709. It does have a required rezone. It is 153.95 acres and in grapes down here on the valley floor. The second is also on the valley floor. It's 38.98 acres and almonds. It is prime and surrounded by contracted lands. The next, Ag Preserve 1711, is 97.84 acres, and in pomegranates, it is surrounded to the north and to the west by contracted lands, as well as to the south. The next three that I'm going to go through are of the same ownership, all over 100 acres, all almond orchards, and all prime ag land. 1712 does require a rezone. 1713 does not require a rezone, is prime. 1714 is also prime almond, does not require a rezone, and 1715 is prime and does not require a rezone. I'm sorry, I skipped through a slide. 1716 is prime ag land, is an almond orchard and 78.96 acres. 1717 does require a rezone and is grazing land and is surrounded by contracted lands as well. On all sides, so all of the parcels surrounding this parcel are contracted lands. And the last is 285.03 acres, prime ag land and almond orchards, and also does require a rezone. So with that, on the November 5th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the commission voted 4-0 with one absent in favor of approving the rezones for the applications for 2020. And staff is recommending that the board approve the rezones, which would be the first step as a condition of contract approval, and then it is further recommended that the board approve the establishment of the preserves for 2020 and authorize the chairman to execute the contracts. And we're available for any questions.
Any questions from the board? This is a public hearing. I will open the public comment portion of the public hearing. Is there any public wishing to comment? Seeing none, I'll call it closed to the public comment portion of the public hearing. Bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve, that would be items, let's see.
1 through 4.
1, 2, 3, and 4.
The second was by who?
I don't know. Tom? Supervisor Wheeler?
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
No.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
6E.
6C, Community and Economic Development Planning Division, hearing to consider adoption of a resolution consenting to and giving tentative approval to the partial cancellation of farmland security zone contract with Apex Solutions, LLC, a California limited liability company, and is located on the east side of Road 600, approximately 430 feet northeast of its intersection with Road 31, Madera, and making supporting findings.
Thank you, Rhonda. Jamie Bax again with the Planning Division. Before you is actually a similar item. However, this is a cancellation of a farmland security zone. So the applicant is requesting a cancellation of 19.35 acres to allow for a solar facility. This is going to be for a 3-megawatt solar photovoltaic electric generating and energy storage facility. There was a conditional use permit approved for this project by the Planning Commission in January of this year, and the cancellation is a condition of approval of the conditional use permit. As part of the conditional use permit, a mitigated negative declaration number 2018-26 was approved and did evaluate both the solar facility and the farmland security zone cancellation. The next slide is a map which shows the parcel in question. You can see it's vacant and unplanted. As part of the cancellation, certain findings must be made to allow for the cancellation to move forward. Those findings are that a notice of non-renewal be filed, and it has been, and recorded with the recorder's office. The proposed use is unlikely to result in removal of adjacent lands from agricultural use. This type of project is not proposing any development that's going to remove any adjacent lands from agricultural use. The alternative use is consistent with the general plan and the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance does allow for the solar facilities in agricultural zone districts. And the cancellation will not result in discontinuous patterns of urban development. This type of development is not considered urban development as it is providing energy to the county as a whole. No proximate non-contracted land is both available and suitable for the project. This happens to be located directly adjacent to a facility owned by PG&E. So there are no other parcels in the area that would allow for this connection. And cancellation is in the public interest as it will be serving, allowing for energy to be sold back to PG&E. The assessor has certified to the board that the value for the 19 acres is $120,000, and the cancellation fee of 25%, because it is a farmland security zone, is $30,000. So with that, it is recommended that the board approve. It would be a tentative partial cancellation. If approved, a tentative partial cancellation will be recorded. And then after that is recorded, if the board were to approve this action, upon payment of the cancellation fee, and also upon approval of the Department of Conservation, which we have been working with through this process, then a final partial cancellation will then be recorded. So we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Well, it's a good start. We've got 19.35 acres taken out of the water.
Production,
So
huh?
we're down for, it's a
Yeah.
good start. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, the $30,000, that goes right to the Department of Conservation?
Correct.
Okay, the state hasn't been giving us no money back for our Williamson Act lands, right?
Not since 2009.
So why should we give them any of this money if they ain't giving us some? They don't deserve it.
That
They
is
cut
an
us off.
That is an excellent point, Supervisor Wheeler. Unfortunately, it's spelled out in government code that this payment goes directly to the Department of Conservation.
Can we talk about that to the legislatures and stuff? I mean, this is crazy, because they quit paying us. We're the ones taking the hit on all Williamson Act, and and we got to give them back some. But I seen that last night about.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna say what I about did because I was pissed.
Yeah.
And then one of my other questions was, why are they putting it so far out there? But there is a power station there. Okay, because I looked on that map and I didn't see one. So is it right next to it there on that west side?
It's actually a line that they will be hooking into.
I'm trying
That
to
goes,
see it, but I couldn't see one on this map.
it
so-
goes along Road 600.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yes, there is a,
No, that's good. I just.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, why are they putting a car out there unless they're going to try to do that little half-ass subdivision there? I guess.
it's a 12 kV distribution.
But I
circuit.
think we need to, as a staff and as a board, we need to look at what the state's getting out of that when we take the hit on them now since '09. And the other thing is, I was going to say, since you're here, when all that solar's in, what does that do for the value of that land? It's going to be more than 120,000, right?
Well, unfortunately, as Brian Glover, Deputy Assessor with the Assessor's Office, unfortunately, under California property tax law, to the first owner, all solar systems are exempt, and that does include utility scale installations. Yeah.
So those guys
So
out
until it
there on
sells.
down by Bakersfield's putting those, I mean, there's sections of land that they don't get no.
Until it transfers, they are exempt from property taxation.
So if they sell it to Tom Wheeler, I'd have to start paying it?
Yep. Yeah, the second owner becomes responsible for property tax.
That's interesting. See, I just learned something else today.
All right.
State's sticking it to us and.
This is a public hearing. I'll now open the public comment portion of the public hearing. Any members of the public wishing to come forward?
Move to approve.
I'll now close the public comment portion of the public hearing and bring it back to the board for action.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
In protest.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Brian, if you're heading out to Sierra View, if you could let my wife know that I'm coming as quickly as possible. Yeah,
I
save me a
like your
seat.
tie too, Brian. I like your tie. You put some of my lights on, it'd be.
Nice Christmas tie.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to the rest of our agenda. Public hearings are done. 7D.
7D, Human Resources Department, discussion and consideration of approval to appoint an interim county administrative officer to fill a county administrative office vacancy effective immediately with a salary placement at the A step of the CAO salary range, $485.
Matt.
Ready for a motion, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, and you're going to add the name?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Darren McCandless as the interim CAO, and that we include, I lost the name, as a deputy.
I don't think, he's already a deputy, so I don't think we have to.
Okay, so we
yeah.
don't have to.
He's interim,
change-
just
That's
interim.
right, we don't have to do that. Yeah, thank you.
I second it. You got to put it.
Any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, I'll call close to the public comment. And the board is already, we have a motion and a second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
All right. 7E.
7E, Human Resources Department, amendment to convert sick leave hours to retirement service credit. Hearing to consider adoption of a resolution of intent to amend the contract between the County of Madera and the Board of Administration of the California Public Employees Retirement System to provide for the conversion of sick leave balances to service credit for miscellaneous and safety employees at separation of service. Hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance authorizing amendment to Section 260-540 of Chapter 260 of the Madera County Code pertaining to sick leave at separation of service. Waive the reading and set the hearing for January 7, 2020.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Michelle May reporting on behalf of Human Resources. So this particular item, as Rhonda read into the record, thank you, Rhonda. So currently our employees are entitled to cash payout for a portion of their sick leave, their accrued unused sick leave balances. And so this particular item will, if upon approval and of course adoption of the ordinance amendments, allow the county to enter into an amendment with CalPERS on our contract that we currently have for our retirement benefits to convert sick leave hours for an employee when they retire. So they have to retire from the county in order to convert the sick leave hours to service credit with CalPERS, so they would not have the cash value. And of course, someone who separates employment other than retirement purposes would continue to fall under the current provisions of the county code, which are presented here today as well. And so those would not change. And of course, we have agreements with some of our bargaining units in their MOUs. So those payouts are consistent with the tables in those particular MOUs. So the conversion, so just to give you a little bit more background, this item, as you may recall, was actually conceptually approved with our bargaining units when we entered into extensions of their current MOUs in about January of this year earlier. So part of that was, part of that extension included the sick leave conversion. So right now, employees can convert up to 50% of their sick leave hours when they separate employment. This particular item will allow the county to budget for some of the cost. Right now, we currently don't budget for this. It's an unfunded expense for several reasons. We obviously can't anticipate necessarily when someone will leave the county service. So anytime they do leave, we have the cash out of any of their paid leave balances that they're entitled to. So with this particular amendment and approval of this change to to amend the contract, and then obviously change the county ordinance, we'd enter into that change with CalPERS, and as I mentioned earlier, it would be mandatory that if someone retires, they would have to convert their service credit. They wouldn't have the option to cash out or convert. It would be converted. And with the CalPERS actuarial valuation that was done by their offices, which is required anytime you enter into an amendment with CalPERS for their retirement system, the actuarial valuation is required, so they did present that on both the miscellaneous employee group and our safety employee groups. And so the anticipated annual cost is, and it's outlined, of course, in the board letter and in the attachments, is 0.1% annually for our miscellaneous employee group, and then 0.2% annually for our safety employees. And that currently represents about $135,000 for miscellaneous and $41,000 for our safety. And I know that our budget director was unable to be here for this piece, but we did have a consultation on this. And so currently, with that calculated amount, approximately $85 of that $176,000 would go to the general fund. So it's a very small portion of that cost. And the ability to be able to mitigate those costs when someone cashes their leave balances out versus being able to budget that with the change in the CalPERS rates is, of course, very important and very helpful from the county's perspective. So if your board approves the adoption, and of course the ordinance is adopted after the second reading, 30 days after that, we will present side letters of agreement with the bargaining units, which of course, as I mentioned, we have conceptual agreement already with everyone and have already had discussions on the particulars of how the the service credit would work. So those side letters would be presented to your board at a successor meeting for your recommendation and hopefully adoption. And if you have any additional questions, I am available to answer.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, what it's going to cost us annually. So that's what you're saying, it'll cost us annually $176,000 and $41,000?
That's the liability.
Correct, yes. That is from the CalPERS valuation report. That's what.
Okay, and that's annually?
Correct.
And then, so how many hours can they carry over year to year?
So employees can earn 8 hours a month, and there's actually no cap on the
There's
amount.
no cap on it?
No cap.
Can we put a cap on it?
We could certainly present that during negotiations. That would have to be negotiated with our bargaining
Right.
units. I'm sorry. Oh, that's true, correct. Sorry, thank you, Susan. Yes, our peace officer groups do have a cap on their sick leave. It is 1,000 hours.
2,000?
1,000.
Oh, 1,000 hours? I think we got to really look at that at these next year's negotiations, because I think that anytime they do that, it's going to cost us money no matter how we do it. So I think that we got to look at that when we start our next round of negotiations, because if we got the safety employees doing it, why aren't the rest of them? So, and you can see they're 4 times, 5 times more money it costing us. So I think we would add that to our list. That's all I got to say.
All right. Any members of the public wishing to make comment on this at this time? See none, I'll call close the public comment, bring back to the board for action.
Waive the reading and set the next hearing for January 7th.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
One other question on that real quick. What does it cost us now by not doing this?
So right now, like, for example, in the past year, the cash out value just for sick leave was $112,000. And I know that Joel indicated that we've actually had cash outs as high as $250,000.
That's what I figured.
Yes.
That's where we need a cap, see? That's exactly what I knew we had some that was really high some years, so.
All right.
Thank you.
7F.
7F, Human Resources Department, discussion and consideration of approval to ratify the side letter of agreement with the technical unit to increase the monthly uniform allowance for the classifications of Community Service Officer and Sheriff's Department Public Information Officer, effective December 1, 2019.
Is there any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, I'll call close to the public comment portion. Anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion for approval.
We have a motion and a second.
Call for
Yes.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
And Rhonda, I hope I was like this. I hope it didn't seem like I was just waving to you like that. But I was not trying to be rude. All right, pending legislation. Oh, I thought you were sitting here for that. Thank God. Supervisor and staff reports.
I have nothing to report.
I missed RCRC due to our late night board meeting, so I did not attend that.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Eagle Scout, Saturday, at 2 o'clock. Ryan O'Meara, my number, that's 23 of them I've given certificates for. Thank you guys for doing a certificate.
Darren? Virginia?
No report.
We attended a meeting with Brian Kelly yesterday in Sacramento.
That's right.
It's my last meeting. Sorry to take it so long. We started with birds. We ended with a lot more this year. So with that, I will call this meeting adjourned.
Done again.